Joel and True Internet. That's Romulan for good day. I don't know why I started talking Romulan. Hi!
He's having too much fun.
Bob the Ninja Goldfish. That's Ateatree. That's Tim. That's Pidge. That's Sid. That guy over there is Ashen Prime. Say hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
I'm glad we were all on the same page. So.
Yeah. Say hi, Intrepid Heroes. Anyway, we're here to just do a bit of a hangout stream today. This is going to be a bit different to your regular podcast. We're just sort of hanging out. We're 3 weeks from going live with the event, like quite literally right now in 3 weeks, the main event will begin. Oh, that worries the hell out of me.
Hey, personal assistant, remind me to watch RPG Limit Break in 3 weeks.
As you can see in the main screen there, Ashen is going to be building a PC while we hang out. And there's going to be a bunch of chat going on. We're going to talk about like RPGs on the PC and basically whatever comes to mind. This is about us getting to hang out and chill out. However, there is a piece of business that I need to deal with first, because I know what you're all thinking. You're thinking, isn't today the day that the volunteer schedule is supposed to go live?
Yeah, what's up with that, Bob?
Yeah.
What is up with that? Well, in the fact that Bethesda have copied me once again, for those of you who don't know, Skyrim is based on my life. I am the Dragonborn. I can officially announce that as of the volunteer schedule is available right now.
Hey, there it is. We've skipped straight ahead from the volunteer schedule to the volunteer schedule remastered.
Yes.
Please enjoy upgraded game mechanics.
Yeah, everything is there except for the horse armor that's sold separately.
There is no horse armor DLC here.
I'm afraid you'll need the deluxe edition of the volunteer schedule for that.
Yep.
Oof.
All right. Well, everybody have fun with that. See what you're working on.
If you need a link, it should be on our socials.
Yep.
And it should be live in the announcement channel in our Discord right now.
!Discord if you haven't joined us already, which you should. You should always join the Discord.
Yeah.
If you are a volunteer and you're not on the Discord, you will be having your shifts replaced.
Yeah.
You should be on the Discord.
Should be on the Discord. You'll get the stink eye.
Generally, you should be on the Discord as a soft sell. In this case, it should be considered non-negotiable.
Yeah, this is non-negotiable.
Yeah. If you're coming
we do need to be able
event,
to we do need to be able to communicate with you.
Yeah.
Which we do via Discord.
Yep.
So yeah. If you are not on the Discord or you know someone who volunteered but isn't on the Discord, get them on the Discord. We're all awesome.
If you're a runner or want to commentate for a runner and you're not on the Discord, get on the Discord.
Yes.
If you just like to watch the streams and just kind of see cool people play RPGs really quickly, get on the Discord. It's always good. The Discord's great.
Yeah. Anyway, I will be here in chat to answer any questions. I may be a little quiet because I'm going to be going through distributing Discord roles and just like putting in from the peanut gallery every now and again. Bear with me as I distribute Discord roles. There's one of me and like 100 something of you. It's going to take a minute. With that,
Yep.
I turn it over to everyone else.
Woo! All right, I'm going to
Ooh.
get stuck into this. First off, I want to mention that we have a parts list. Tim has kindly posted and pinned that into the Twitch chat. I don't know if anybody's pinned that and sent that in the YouTube chat. I should double check that. It hasn't been. Cool. Let me send that over there real quick. But Sid, do you want to explain why we suddenly need another PC built for our event?
Yeah, I saw what GDQ was doing with their setup, and I'm like, I need to do that. Ashen, help me out. So we decided to add in a PC on the content side. So hopefully when we're doing the non-game related stuff, we'll have much better visual quality. We can do a lot more interesting stuff. We have some really cool stuff planned in terms of just not doing straight interviews anymore. So if you guys haven't been watching them, I would check them out. But this PC is going to help us do a lot of cool things that I think you guys will find way more interesting.
Yeah. From our technical standpoint, we tried to do some really cool and fun things with interviews last year. And we found that, unfortunately, some of the time and effort it took to set those up, because we were just using the one PC to do the game capture, like to do the runs, and the same PC did the interview capture. And so the time it took for the same person to set up the interview was the time that they should have been doing setting up the run, and so it made everything just run a little bit late. And so we're trying to expand and even do more with interview, which is renamed now, which is the content team. We're trying to do fun content this time rather than just sitting and doing interviews. Needed a specific content team PC that they can use, we can use to do all that fun stuff and then ship it off to be sent to the stream. All right, I'm going to be more quiet now as y'all keep talking about things.
I was going to ask Ashen about the actual components, but maybe I don't know if Sid wants to comment on why we've gone for what we've gone for. Obviously, we have certain needs, and obviously, money is what's the word? A considered factor. But we would be nice to discuss the parts that we've got and why we've gone for various things we've gone for.
You know, that would be great to talk about if either of us had made the choices.
Yeah, I think with a lot of the way that it's kind of shaken out with like the new graphics cards and stuff, we've kind of had to just take what we can get. If
anybody's looked at anything recently, if you've been to PC part pickers, you've talked to anyone who knows, it's rough out there. You know, as they say, money can be exchanged for goods and services. But right now, you may find that that's actually not the case, because getting your hands on a new graphics card is nigh impossible. It doesn't matter which generation of graphics card you're looking for or which maker manufacturer. It's just kind of a non-entity.
I feel like we were very lucky to find even a 3060 in stock, but we have a 3060.
Ideally, it doesn't need to be like an overly powerful PC. Mainly, we're just looking so that we can say, you know, maybe do like a Family Feud game or something like that, so that we can actually display the board up there, and it has a lot more visual appeal, as well as doing like maybe Pictionary or Wordle games like that, where we need to play audio stuff, that we can play that locally.
Yep.
So we can have some more intricate games, as well as gives me and my team, because we upgraded them to be content producers this year, which it's kind of a group that does a lot of everything. Mm-hmm. We are jack of all trades, really no master of none. Where you have to have a lot of things in mind, but the idea is that we can also use this to change cameras, play sounds. So like the cool things that we do with the other setup, where it's like, oh, we're doing a Pokemon run, let's get a Whale Lord sound. We can actually do that instead of have to be like fingering across the room to somebody 10 feet away, be like, play the sound! Play the sound!
Yeah. You know, those of you in the know for PC parts will recognize that this is roughly a 2020 era PC, but that's all that it needs to be. Because what it's doing is helping with the around the edges content. You're not also streaming the game off of this, as you might be if you were a streamer producing your own content to go out direct to Twitch. And the biggest parts here for this system are going to be the HDMI and SDI capture cards. Ashen, you want to tell us a little bit more about those?
Yeah, we use a lot. I don't feel like that's set in properly. Let me check that again.
That's pretty much how I feel most of the time when I put a computer together. I'm like,
that's pretty much how I just feel that I'm not set right.
AM4 and AM5 in particular, the feeling of the you've got a little like securement bracket here. Let me see if I can give you. I actually just upgraded myself, so I've got some visuals handy here.
I have a prop.
the bracket available here that holds the processor in place kind of goes around and then pushes down to actually push the processor itself onto the motherboard. And the pressure on that is, it can get a little nerve-wracking to make sure, like, am I doing this right, or am I about to break my expensive processor?
Yeah. You kind of need all those pins.
Yep.
Not most of them, just all of them.
All right, so I've started distributing Discord roles.
Ooh.
How many people do you think it took me to find someone who wasn't in the Discord?
2.
5.
2.
8.
Was in fact the 4th person I tried to give a role to.
Oh,
Wow.
Dang it. That was
So if you said 4 in chat, congratulations, and get in the Discord, please.
I should have said $1. Now I don't get to go play the game.
It's fine. Well, there'll be Plinko later.
Yeah, but ideally just we wanted to add in this additional thing. A lot of departments were hoping to get a PC. Hopefully we can facilitate that more next year if prices actually go to a reasonable level.
Well, I will say that for a lot of the departments, for like our even our hosts, our donations, our check-in, all of those have been running on Chromebooks for several years. But we were actually able to get a pretty good deal on some refurbished ThinkPad laptops, so they all get new PCs this year too. So yeah, we're having a lot of fun this year. They don't get towers, but they do get PCs.
Yeah, I was like working on the Chromebook, and everybody's like, "What do you need?" And I'm like, "I don't know." I went to GDQ, and I'm like, "I think I know what I need now." Because I was really trying to be like, "All right, we can operate this on a shoestring." But then when I saw an actual production, it's been a while since I've been in a production environment. I'm like, this actually makes sense. The main thing I was worried about was like manpower, because with like an actual production, you would have your producer who's telling you what to look at, what to zoom in on, whether the audio goes up, whether you're going to play, a clip of something. Then you have the person that actually operates the computer. You have somebody that's usually doing sound. Then you have people on the cameras. So it's usually like a 5-person production, and we're going to try and make it work with one. So hopefully we have this just complicated enough that we can do some neat stuff, but also not complicated enough that we trip over ourselves to do it.
Yeah.
But you don't know unless you try. And hopefully we get some better quality out of it that everybody can enjoy.
If not, it's going to be a really interesting explosion.
Oh, yeah. Lots of pretty lights.
I spend most of my time wondering where it's going to fail. And then when I see where it fails, I'm just like, this is not what I expected. No. There's so many other things that should have exploded, and this was it? Okay.
Are those? No, okay, they're the same. Okay. For a second there, I thought I had 2 different screws for this M.2 plate. It's about to go a bit insane. Yeah, we've got... So far I've got the CPU and memory installed, going on to the SSD here.
Very good. And you checked the motherboard manual, or you already knew which 2... Is this only a 2-slot? I think there's 4 slots there.
As
far as memory?
Oh, for memory, yes. I did check the slots on that. I haven't bothered.
So you're using 2 and 4 for a proper dual channel configuration. That helps the memory do things faster and communicate with the processor faster as well.
Is it 2 and 4?
I'm going to really show my age here, right now. And I'm going to ask Ashen. I'm assuming that this motherboard either doesn't have any jumper settings or it's completely like jumperless and automatic. Because back in my day, you had to set your jumpers on your board for your CPU voltage, or you. So
there's a number of for voltage, got it. There's a number of things that have actually become less common over the years. Jumpers are one of them in terms of actual physical, like something that slides in over pins to make changes. The current rather expensive motherboard that I have in my personal computer has a section where you ground it to reset the CMOS, but it doesn't have a jumper to do that. So you actually are expected to go get like a screwdriver or something to reset the BIOS, or the modern equivalent of the BIOS, because they actually don't use BIOS anymore. It's kind of a virtualized BIOS environment. But things like having to set hard drive specifications to your leader follower specifications, things of that nature aren't really a thing anymore. The other thing that unfortunately has gone the way of the dodo on computers generally is postcodes and error codes. Yeah, getting the ability to actually see what's gone wrong when you try to boot the computer is now considered a premium feature. For better or worse.
Better hold Alt F4 fast because it's gonna post.
Something like that. All right, so we've got our memory ranks hopefully confirmed now.
Yeah, confirmed that I put them into the wrong set. So
hey, that's why we have each other's back. Yep. Absolutely.
There's so many little things that you can just completely glaze over when you're doing your computer, and you're like, why wait, I don't have any RAM. What are you talking about?
Right.
Oh.
Yep.
I guess I don't have RAM.
It is.
Oops.
I had it in 1 and 3, but the double checking it is 2 and 4 that I need to
2 and 4. So, yeah, it usually is. AM4 and AM5 are both like that. And AM4 at least is a mature enough platform that you'd probably get away with the computer starting if they were in the wrong ranks. It wouldn't be as happy when you got in there. It'd be like, no, you can't set the XMP profile on these. Try again, please. Whereas AM5, if you put 2 sticks of RAM in the computer on the 4 slots and you put them into the wrong ones, it just won't post at all.
Yeah, it's so weird because you, like, as a casual, you'd be like, oh, there's 4 slots. Just put them in the 2 next to each other. They're actually separated. Yep. So it's like 1 and 3, 2 and 4. So they have to be like this.
Yeah.
And if you want the most, you want to have 2 different sticks, not just 1. Yes. There's all these little weird things that, like, casually are like, why is it so convoluted? I don't know, but it is.
And on the most recent stuff, you don't want to fill all 4 slots unless it's like very specific RAM and a very high-end motherboard. Because the memory controller, which is one of the other components on the main board itself, for the most recent AMD platform, is just kind of still in design and development after a fashion. It does not handle 4 sticks of RAM very well.
That's
again something
ridiculous.
Something from the past.
Yep. And the solution that they came up with on the production side is, we'll just make the individual sticks of RAM have more RAM on them. So 16 gigs per stick was the standard for the past 10 years, maybe close to 15 at this point.
Yeah, sounds.
And now
right.
you can get RAM sticks that have either 24 or 48 gigs of RAM per stick on them. It's one of those things that I think they got better at doing from figuring out how to cram a bunch of memory into mobile phones.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, we can just stack them like this, instead of having little chips that are kind of, 4 per side on the front and back of the memory, which is how the 16 gig has historically worked.
I remember, and I'm really showing my age here, 1 meg sticks.
Yes. Back when you called them expansion cards as much as anything else.
Oh.
And also, I was just going to say, I take it the memory that we're using here, Ashen, that they are obviously 2 identical sticks, but I know that certainly in the past, you had to have exactly the same type of stick or even the same size to match them up. I take it that's still a thing.
Most of them are sold in pairs now, I think.
Yeah.
So it's not like you have to buy 2 individual 8 from the same manufacturer. It's like, here you go, you get 16 and it's 2 sticks of 8 or whatever it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Later.
I know. I've been around computer building for a bit because my dad did it when I was younger. And so I understand most of the stuff you're talking about. I'm like, you look at it now and I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, after a fashion, PC building is actually easier than it's ever been.
Yeah,
since
actually.
About 2010, 2015. Because so many of the things like the tolerances were expanded to make it so that you could technically make this mistake and the PC will still probably boot. As opposed to back in the old days, like Tim is mentioning, where you had jumpers, where you had to set your parallel port to a specific part of the motherboard for it to even be able to recognize that the hardware was there.
Yeah.
Another one that I always remember, and again, Tree and Sid will probably know about this. At one stage, hard drives would not be recognized over a certain capacity. And you would only have, and you'd have to make sure that your hard drive was of the appropriate size. And if it was too big, if your motherboard just wouldn't recognize it, you would either not recognize it at all, or you'd only get half of its size.
Yeah,
you wouldn't get the actual full. Obviously, that's completely different today. And but it's something I always remember.
it still does happen. Like with the old Xboxes, 360s, PS3s, like you try to put something too big in there and they just won't read it. Same thing with some of the handheld consoles too. They're like, oh, look, I can get a terabyte, SD card. You put that on the PSP or PS Vita and it's like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's a problem with Smash Bros. Brawl also. If you want to use like a mod launcher without installing the homebrew channel, which you would have to do like at a tournament where the equipment is supplied by an outside sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go into the stage builder famous notorious exploit, your SD card has to be 2 gigabytes. Have you seen a 2 gigabyte SD card for sale in a very long time? Because I have not.
Yeah.
No.
But because I bought them all. They're all hoarded in my house.
They're
2 gigabytes.
I'm a hoarder too, so I probably have one somewhere, but it definitely is like one of those things where it's like, oh,
why did I have a 2 gigabyte micro SD on my desk? The world may never know.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny going from like megs to kill to up to like megabytes, gigabytes, terabytes, and then now it's like we're in like teras, right? And it's like, oh no, we do like hundreds of terabytes, and I'm just like, my head hurts. I don't even know what I'm gonna put on here.
My first computer
can
had
I cut in
48K
for
RAM.
1 second?
Absolutely.
Can I cut in for 1 second? I want to bring this up because I'm looking at the sheet right now. For those of you that haven't looked at the volunteer schedule, because you're not a volunteer, we will be closing check-in at the end of the shifts on the 21st of May. That doesn't mean you can't check in after that. It's just we won't have the check-in desk staffed because there aren't a lot of people coming in on the 22nd and the 23rd. And we didn't see the point in staffing 8 4-hour shifts for like 6 or 7 people. So if you are one of the people that is arriving on the 22nd or the 23rd, please reach out to Dowolf or one of the other people that is listed to sort out a check-in when you arrive, basically. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're doing the important work here, Bob. Don't mind the rest of us.
Yep.
Just kind of over here being the class clown, so I'll take a chance to breathe.
I will ask what the next step is. What's the next step now?
That's what I was thinking as well, because we did have somebody in chat mention earlier the fact that you don't have some sort of divider or cup or something else for holding screws was.
That's true. That's just I'm just gonna have to deal with that one. That's my own lack of forethought.
At the very least, you could put screws for certain things above the build area and certain things below if it helps. But
there are people that just put the computer together, and there are people that put the computer together.
Yeah,
I'm one of the unga bungas. I'm like, if it's on the table, I don't need a cup. I'm not getting magnets. One thing at a time. Then there's other people that have all these little different cups and bowls, and I'm like, nah.
Yeah, no.
If I lose the screw, I'm gonna find it.
There's a site that I quite like, a YouTube group that also makes what they call a mod mat, which is basically like a big computer desk mat, but it has sections that are like visually designated on the mat itself for like, hey, put this kind of screw here. Keep track of things.
I've seen like one of those. Those look really neat for sure, especially if you do computer building often.
Yeah,
helps keep the workspace tidy, where you're just kind of like, okay, everything goes in its own spot.
So the Thermal Right Assassin, I think, is what I have here. Anyway, the cooler that we're
Fearless
using,
Assassin.
Fearless, yeah, there we go. Comes with all of the parts to install it on either AMD or Intel.
Yes.
These 4 screws and 2 brackets. Yeah. And these 2 brackets are all I need to install it on the AM4. And then all the rest of this is what's needed for the Intel. There's a lot of, we're not using this for this build.
Yeah, and they do it back and forth. Some of these you'll find that Intel is the one they are built for, and AMD you need the extra bracket, the securement stuff that goes over the Cooler Master 360 mil water cooler that I have on my 9800X3D is actually the other way around. It expects you to be using Intel, and you need the extra securement bracket and the razor for the it actually has to raise up above the square that the CPU is on to be able to secure properly to an AMD board.
Yeah.
Basically, it just means read the manual very carefully and follow its instructions, and you'll be fine.
It means like a plan.
And
Putting the computer together itself is pretty straightforward, but making sure that your motherboard meets your specs is the hard part.
Not wrong. But yeah, this is also the classic, as to the extent that you can, if you're using a larger graphics card or a large water cooler, you may need to circumvent the way this is being done right now a little bit. But this is very much the classic style. Build as much as possible before putting it into a case.
Yeah.
That generally makes things much easier, because if you find that something's the matter, you have more space to move your hands around things. You have the ability to take things back off and try them again.
When I first did building way back, I very much made the mistake 2 or 3 times of plugging everything in, getting it all set up, get the back plate in, get it all in, get the case, even put the top on. And of course it doesn't start. And then a colleague of mine said, well, look, make sure the first thing you do is you get it all ready to go. You get your RAM in, you get your GPU in, and then you test it to check and see if it's going. And then you can add bits from there. Because if you put it all together, you're going to have to pull it all apart again.
Yeah, because the other thing, too, is cable routing and can end up being so important because it just makes it a nightmare to fix anything.
Mm-hmm.
So taking it step by step rather than being all right, well, I can put everything in now.
Which it does look like I'm doing so far. But
yeah.
After all, why shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Yes, resist the temptation of the rig.
Yeah.
It will come back to bite you later. Yeah, if you're using something like, say, one of these, yes, I happen to have a water-cooled 3090 sitting around as a spare part, don't ask. Figuring out how to get this connected up and tested before actually hanging the radiator into the case tends to be a difficult endeavor.
Yeah.
Needless to say, the fact that I did it alone the last time I put this into a case meant I didn't have that luxury. I had to hang everything up and get it connected before turning it on and testing, and I just got lucky in that regard.
Yeah. All right, we're getting close to when I need to put on the thermal paste. I want to hear everybody's opinions, including you in chat. What's going to be the best pattern to put the thermal paste on?
I'll withhold. I have my opinions, but I'll withhold.
PG, chat. Keep it PG.
Okay, best and funniest are separate categories, but do please be appropriate either way. Okay, suggestion use the entire tube.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Horrifying. Good luck.
Yeah. I mean, I have a similar statement to PX, but it definitely doesn't fit our guidelines, so I'm going to withhold on that one.
Very good.
I'm going to go with when I last remember putting a CPU to a fan on. I was lucky. I had the pre-prepared one. It was just a little fan, and it had the little sticky on it. And you just pull the thing off.
Sometimes they do. Yeah, they do have a.
Yeah.
When they have the pre-applied, that's the one thing you actually got to pay attention to is make sure that if they do have the pre-applied, that you're not double dipping by putting the additional on. That's the main one.
Yeah, for most things, especially mid-range coolers, like a lot of these AMD processors. This one actually might have. Did this 3600 come with the AMD Wraith cooler?
It does, yeah.
Yeah, so that one's probably going to come with cooling pre-applied. And you wouldn't have to do anything else aside from making sure to take a plastic piece off if there's one of those. Always take
the correct answer about how to apply your thermal paste properly is to travel 4 states over, load it into a trebuchet, and fire.
Yeah.
Interesting. Haven't tried that one. Can't speak to the efficacy.
If you could launch
thermal paste launched at them.
The thing too is it's this tiny little tube that's usually this big. You would the trebuchet, it would just right in front of the trebuchet. It would go all of 4 feet because of how tiny the little applicators actually are. But yeah, it's nice that some of them have the auto or already applied because it's just so much easier. you get an even distribution. You can clear it off if you want and apply your own, but there's very few people that are like persnickety enough about it that they need to have it a very specific amount, because it's usually fine from the factory.
Yeah, this one does not come with any pre-applied anything, so we are going to have to just use the tube.
Oh, okay.
I have to paste it, right?
Yeah, once you get into aftermarket parts. Sorry, go ahead, Tim.
No, sorry, Tree. I was going to ask Ashen. My memory of coolers, of fans, is always ripping up my fingers when I wasn't able to get them clipped onto the motherboard, because they used to have these great big clips on the side. Ugh. And you would put them down on top, and then you'd have to lever these clips down, and that was the bit I always hated. I always fought with my fans and lost most of the time. Are they any easier these days, or are they pretty much still the same?
Well, fun fact, this is the first time I'm actually installing this kind of air cooler ever, so
okay.
I'll let you know in a second. These ones look like they are going to have little clippies that are going to go hold the fans on, so that's going to be fun.
They're not as large as they used to be. Tim, you might be thinking of something like the Cooler Master Hyper 212, which has kind of been the air cooler of record since, 2006 maybe.
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking long before that.
Okay,
I'm talking about the really, really ancient ones. At one stage,
piece of aluminum with a fan.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
They had this piece of this lever that was in.
So,
and you just had to. Oh, it was horrible.
So top mounting fan over the cooler isn't so common these days. The general idea, if you're less familiar, is there is a block of metal that makes the connection between the metal on the top of the CPU itself and the metal of the cooler. And you put paste in between those two segments so that when you do this, any little gaps are filled in with the paste. Because any air in here with hot metal against hot metal is going to make everything go poorly. Everything's just going to heat each other up, and your CPU temperatures are going to skyrocket. So the paste makes that connection smooth, and then the block of metal on the CPU's end goes up into a bunch of metal pipes which distribute that heat into the piece that has the fan on it, or in this case, multiple fans. The modern setup for a CPU cooler is typically for an air cooler. It goes up into a big aluminum fin stack, which has a fan attached onto each side. So the thing that we'll want to do here is make sure that the fans are moving air in the same direction. Typically, the easiest way to do it is in from the front of the case and exhaust out the back. So each fan should be pointed in the same direction so that it's moving air smoothly through the case and out the back. And that's how it effectively cools the heat that comes from the two pieces of metal making contact.
Yeah, that's another one of those that's easy to trip up on, is making sure the air is flowing the right way. Because you'll look at the fan and you're like, I think they're pointed the same way. You got to stick your hand in there and be like, okay, when's
that definitely helps. They kind of standardize down to the point where one side has a logo on it and the other side doesn't. That's how you can tell which direction everything is going in. But it's one of those things where you could buy a pre-built, and depending on who's building it and how much experience they have, I've absolutely seen videos of pre-builts where, they did a great job. Cable routing's good. Everything looks lovely. But as soon as we turned the computer on and put it under any load, the CPU temperature shot to 105 degrees Celsius and almost shut itself off.
You can usually get what you need out of a pre-built, but it's also one of those things where a spot check is definitely a good idea if you have enough knowledge, or at least look into it. Because I've seen some pre-builts, they're fine. They work out of the box. And then some of them I'm just like, what? Did you have a wolf put this together?
Right. And shipping a computer is a very difficult prospect. There's a reason that all the parts come in their own separate little cardboard boxes and are secured with plastic shells on top of them inside the boxes. It's not just for show.
Yeah.
These pieces, while everything tends to fit together easily enough, the actual fitting together isn't the hard part, but the idea that they need to work within very tight tolerances. The paste that I mentioned earlier, making that connection between the two pieces of metal, they're not always, the pieces themselves can only be machined to so tight of a tolerance.
Yeah.
And we're talking literally microns, which isn't a phrase you say in your day-to-day life unless you work in specific fields. But yeah, if something's a few microns less smooth across its surface, it could make everything go wrong.
Yeah, a lot of it's very tightly machined, but like having the thermal paste so that it just transfers heat properly instead of, because in the past it was like, oh yeah, man, this thing like could calculate just multiples. You know what I mean? Like you could do square root maybe. Nowadays, the computers do so many calculations, it creates a ton of energy, which transfers to heat, and you got to get rid of that heat when you're running like multiple processors that are just like doing all this stuff. Like video games, just video games run so many things. Like put your hand behind your PS5 or something.
Shoot.
That's pretty much what your computer's doing just all the time.
Yep.
So like heat management is a big one.
Yeah, and to get it fit into a box the size of a PS5, people make the jokes, Xbox Hue Edge, PS5 is, you don't fit that thing in an entertainment center because at that point you're choking it out of the air that it needs.
Yeah.
They are machined to the point where the PS5 is kind of sort of on the edge of overheating itself most of the time when you have it in a game for an extended period of time, but it's specifically built to the tolerances of don't be too loud and don't overheat.
Yeah.
It is riding the line between those two things all the time. And if you're still playing a PS3 or a PS4, you've probably noticed over time, if you haven't opened it up yourself and done repairs, you've probably noticed that it's gotten louder over time. And that is because it is treating Directive 2 of the ones I mentioned earlier, don't overheat, as the primary. So if it has to get louder to do that, it will.
Okay. Yes, we'll have clearance here. Great. I'm going to take this GPU back out. Maybe if I can reach the clip for that. Ooh, that'll be fun.
Yeah. Some of the most modern motherboards are actually making advancements again to make some portions of this easier. Mm-hmm. You've noticed that reaching around to get the motherboard out requires going under it and hitting a little lever that releases the GPU so you can actually pull it out of the PCIe slot. They are now making a new, I don't know if it's standard yet, but the idea is kind of more of a magnetic release. So you don't have to, especially if you've already put it in the case, you don't have to fish around to find the lever to get it out, which is nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of standards, like with the new USB into mini, into micro, into Type-C, and I'm just like a petulant child. I'm like, I thought it was supposed to be standard. Now there's like 6 different versions. Stop. You're making my head hurt.
Well, yes and no. The other standard on the other side of it is the speed that it can support going through.
I know, because it's like once you hit a certain thing without redesigning it, it can't go any better, which is why we're doing the Type-C, because it can connect better or whatever, but it's just like...
Well, and Type-C isn't always Type-C is one of the trickiest things about Type-C. Sometimes it's Thunderbolt, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's USB 3.1, sometimes it's USB 4, sometimes it can be anything. Okay,
Old man doesn't understand.
I'm going to drag us back in this conversation a little bit, because I was sitting here staring at these fans for a while, because there is no arrow to indicate directionality, and you don't usually get that. It's usually a logo on both sides.
Oh,
but I'm assuming that this is the side that the air will come out of, but I want to double check myself, because you know what they say about assumptions.
Yeah, there is another way. It's to do with the fan curvature. I think if the curves are facing you, that's exhaust, but I don't recall for sure. Worth looking up.
Yeah. See, that's like the only downside of that is because it runs off PC power. It's not like you can just go plug it into the wall and be like, oh, it's blowing this way. You either have to make a plug for it or just run the PC.
Which I am planning to do.
See where the air goes.
The problem is that I can spin it this way, and I can also spin it that way. So that's not super helpful.
Right. I know. Help.
So what I think I'm going to do,
and you can kind of test bench the whole thing. You could put a PSU up off the far corner of where you're building here and plug that into the motherboard jumper and see what happens.
Which I'm planning to do. Yes.
Hey. Very good.
I think that's the way.
One of us actually knows what they're doing. Thank God.
Yeah.
Well,
it ain't me.
I'm going to go ahead and
said PC building podcast. I'm like, oh, I can help with that.
Yep. I'm going to go ahead and install them in the way that I think is correct, and then we're going to do a post test before I put it in the case. And during that test, one of the things we'll check and see is if I'm actually correct about where it is. So these are little wire clippies again, as we were talking about with, as Tim was talking about earlier, but they didn't seem to be too difficult or painful on the fingers to do. A little bit of pain, but not too bad.
Now, if you have to remove them at any point.
Yeah, so we're really hoping that I got it right the first time, or by we, I mean me. I'm really hoping that I got it right the first time, because having to rebuild things is not the most fun, but I'll do it.
One of the
and
things
I have noticed
sheer size of that. Sorry.
No, not at all. Yeah, I know that's pretty standard these days. That the fin stack has to be that size to be able to absorb the heat.
That's
the heat
lot
moves
bigger
up
than
through.
even the one in my machine. Yeah. I mean, my machine's 15 years old.
Actually,
so
able to
it's
go
no
there.
surprise. But
Yes, yeah, we'll be fine.
oh, and then you're adding the fans on the side. Wow, that's huge.
Does it
so where
need
does
two
the- hang
fans?
on, I'm
I don't
being
know,
stupid
probably
here.
not, but I'm going to do that. Say again?
I'm being stupid here. Where does that's the CPU you're working with at the moment? Yes, correct.
The CPU
That's
cooler,
CPU
yeah,
you're
that's
working
what we
with.
just put those
Yeah.
on. And then I
So
just
where's
got
the GPU? Is the GPU's not connected then?
This
at the moment?
is my
The graphics
GPU
card.
right here. I'm about to put
That's-
it in again.
Oh, that's your GPU.
I guess I should.
Yeah,
I
he,
see
he
it.
pulled it out
Here.
just to check for clearance
Oh, I
and
see
make
it.
sure that the
Yeah, I
fan
see it.
everything else
Yeah.
would fit on cleanly.
But CPU's huge. That's a lot bigger than I'm used to seeing.
Well, yeah, and the CPU itself is the
Massive.
small die that I put in at
Yeah,
the beginning.
yeah,
This
but
is
the
just
cooler,
the cooler,
yeah. That's what it's, yeah.
So we've got someone else in chat, Micaiah, saying something similar to my old understanding of how fans worked for these sorts of air coolers, which is that back in the days of the Hyper 212 and the classic era of air cooling, the fans would fit on the outside end of each fin stack. I have actually seen having a fan in between the two halves of the cooler become more common. I've
Yeah.
never built one that specifically works that way, so it does seem a little odd to me, but obviously the fact that the fan's sandwiched right in there so cleanly
and that
would
is
indicate
that is how it's indicated in the instructions, and so and also watching way too many build videos on YouTube for somebody
Sure.
who doesn't build
Sure.
computers that often. But yeah, I've also seen both, but this one was built to have this one in the middle, and honestly, if I wanted a third, we could strap a third on the outside, but that doesn't seem like it would be actually helpful. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
I think I've gotten to the point where my next step is going to be pulling out the PSU and
And
finding
you know what?
the
I
monitor.
expect part of the reason why they don't have a fan on the front by default is to give you the option to put water cooling, like a radiator, in the front of your case. At
On
which
the
point,
case, yeah.
that's the impeller pulling air in, and then the CPU catches it after it's been pushed in through the front.
Though if you have a water-cooled radiator, surely you don't have a tower cooler.
It could be on your GPU,
That's fair.
just giving you every different opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, just because I'm that kind of guy. Honestly, the first time I got a water cooler, I managed to plow the screws right into it. So I had to replace it immediately.
Very good.
Yes.
So
you did use the phrase
this is-
"unga bunga" earlier, so
Oh, yeah.
I well and fully believe you now.
So this is something I have never admitted to or never told anybody publicly, but in 2020,
Okay.
I was building all of the new, we got all new PCs for RPG Limit Break. We got a new stream PC, recording PC, audio PC, 4 new runner PCs, and I built all of them. And I was very pleased that there was only one radiator that I drove a screw into and had to quickly have Amazon ship me a new radiator that I paid for so that I could replace it. But yeah, I still have that radiator somewhere in my house because the fans are still good. I guess I just didn't use them.
There is still a spot on my old graphics card from the little bit of leaking on it. I'm like, did the battery go bad? And then I realized, I was like, oh.
As a member of the management team, I can confirm that is the first time Action's told that to anybody.
Yep. Because it was a $300 AIO, and it's like, oh, cool, great.
I mean, at least it's a good thing you were building them, because I probably would have done it to all of them. There's scrolls on this? I thought I was supposed to just make them. Where's the
Sid would have used a hammer.
Oh yeah. I've been like, why do we have screwdrivers?
Bunga.
I need an actual drill. You're screwing in a water cooler. What do you need a drill for? Because it's easier.
Hold on, I'll go get the impact drill and the
How does the power connect from those fans, Ashen, from the cooler?
They are connected
to the motherboard.
Yeah, there are headers on the motherboard that say CPU fan. The package did come with a splitter if you need it, but this motherboard has 2 CPU fan headers,
Two
CPU
slots.
fan 1 and CPU fan 2.
Yeah, brilliant.
And so I have those just plugged in right there.
To give you a more close-up thing here, in a lot of motherboards, you have these little sets of pins along the bottom and often along like the top and outside edges.
Yep.
These sets of pins are actually going to be marked with the text of what they're for on the body of the motherboard itself. And those are things like fan headers, RGB headers, if your motherboard supports that. These down here, the larger ones, are for USB hookups. So that's generally how everything connects. And then there are the really big ones for, this is the main power that's going to get connected from the power supply unit to the motherboard at some point.
Yeah.
And then up here are the ones for the CPU. So the CPU connection goes from the cooler there to the motherboard. And then everything draws from the big one connected to the motherboard to go to the power supply to actually power the individual components.
The connectors I remember were the old ones, and you might remember these.
I was just about to say that. Yeah,
was connectors for
this
LEDs,
big for everything. Yeah,
a tiny one little pin LED connectors for things like the hard drive LED and the power LED.
Oh yeah,
Those still exist.
That does still exist. That's this section down here, and everything's your tiny little thing that connects between your case and this little bracket. There is actually now, it's not super standardized, but there is basically a thing that sleeves in over all of those. You put all of them into the holder, and then you plug the holder all at once into this.
That's better. Yeah.
We're getting there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just had a realization, and that realization was I didn't think about a good way to show the screen on stream when this posts.
Yep.
But I had a thought that I need to run away to set up, so I'm going to just kind of disappear and leave this part of the screen with nothing happening on it for a few minutes. Sorry, everybody.
I mean, that's how it works. Getting some stuff together. Not everything is fluid.
I'd like a PSU shot there. PSU looks interesting.
Speaking of screens, actually, that's another thing we're going to try and add to the interview and content area. Hopefully, it won't be a giant reflective mess, but ideally, it's going to make it a lot easier to show information for game shows, show some of our offsite prizes as well, and maybe have some other things. We had some pretty interesting ideas with maybe
don't give it all away.
Hey man, I don't know what I know. We're doing stuff. All I gotta say is it's gonna be fun. I just hope we finish it. We actually do it all. That'd be great.
Yep, there are a lot of different threads with different ideas humming at the moment.
Reflective mess. Yeah, dude, we were looking at the interviews from last year, and we were just kind of checking certain things to be what lessons can we take away from this? And I saw one too many things with sunglasses, and I'm these are never making it in the interview again. We're not giant reflective mess. Ugh.
So somebody mentions they feel like the fan that's facing the screen right now is currently backwards, such as it were. I think this is supposed to be an exhaust configuration because I think the part of it we can see is actually the back half of the motherboard. So I believe we're in good shape there, but again, I'm not the one building. Don't hold me to that.
I think the one, the cooler, the bottom end is the entry, and then that's the
correct.
That's the exit, I think. But regarding front drive bays, I remember, you'll remember as well, obviously, Tree and Sid, connecting floppy disk drives, connecting CD-ROM drives. Not so much, I suppose. Do we connect optical drives to a PC these days? Not really.
No, the typical way to do that is to buy an external drive that connects via USB.
Yeah. No, I always remember 3.5 inch bays, 5.25 inch bays.
So 3.5 still exist. They have largely been phased out of most cases, which is to say that the easiest place to fit 3.5s is actually in a separate sleeving under the main portion of where the motherboard and everything else goes. they basically put a space in front of where the power supply goes for 1 or 2 3.5 drive bays.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, for SATA SSDs, they'll actually the case will have just enough clearance between where the motherboard backing ends and where the case side attaches to put SATA SSDs there. So like where you're routing the cables through the back of the motherboard, you can also have extra hard drives. And then of course the NVMEs, like the one we have here, just go right onto the motherboard itself.
Yep. All right.
It's funny to.
That's part of why those motherboards, or why NVMe drives go so much faster. Like if you've ever booted off an NVMe drive after booting the same computer off of a hard drive, it's a night and day difference. You know, your boot time can go down from 45 seconds to 8.
I remember just old man moment where it's like, I remember you turn the computer on and then you'd go do something else. And then you'd come back.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not using my computer right now, but I do want to use it in a bit. Hit the power button, go make a coffee, and then come back and it's still booting. And you're like,
the biggest difference in boot time. Yeah. The biggest difference in boot time that I ever experienced was from going from a standard hard drive to an SSD.
oh, yeah.
That was the most biggest difference that I ever noticed.
Yeah.
And, honestly, it was a huge difference.
Even the 2.5-inch drives, the box style SSDs, that the throughput is 3 to 4 times the speed of a mechanical hard drive, and that makes an enormous difference. Chat does seem to agree, so we might want to take another look. That currently the fans, I think, are technically set up from front to back in an intake configuration, not an exhaust, which is to say that currently air would be coming in the back of the case.
I'm flowing that way. Cool.
So
I am prepared to swap those once we do our first boot test.
All right,
'cause
chat.
I'll be honest, that was
All right, chat.
kind of assumed I would.
You need to be sure about this because we are taking the names of everyone in chat right now. And if this doesn't work, you do owe us all a new computer. Every single one of you owe us a new computer. Mods, please write down the name of everyone in chat right now.
It looks like the name of everyone in chat right now is all the mods.
Yeah.
oh, here we go. I've got.
You know, I'll settle for twisting your arm into donating for the main event. I think I'll take that. As long as my computer still works on it, you guys just donate to the event instead. Give it to Nami. YouTube wouldn't lie.
Oh, okay. So it's not based on their actual opinions. It's based on YouTube videos.
Oh, yeah. Fair.
Unimpeachable. Absolutely.
Perfect.
But no, I mentioned earlier.
No one
I know,
on YouTube has ever been wrong.
No.
right, we all watched the Verge computer building stream, right?
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah,
Sorry.
man. That is a flashback. Woo!
Yeah.
The funnest part of that was not even watching that video, but like the 4 or 5 reaction videos to it that made it 10 times funnier.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you do with thermal paste? Just the thermal paste was the funniest part of that whole thing. Because almost everybody's like, you don't need the whole tube. What are you doing? You're floating the motherboard. What?
Yeah. So there's been, going back to what we said earlier about how to put thermal paste on, there's been a long-standing idea of, you always use just enough. You use like a dime-shaped amount, and then you let it press down and spread out over the course of, because back in a certain era when the fit between the two pieces was a little different than it is now, you would press down on the cold plate and the IHS, the two pieces of metal, and then you would spread it around just a little bit. You would basically wiggle the cooler to do the spreading. These days, it's more in terms of it just goes straight down, and then you do screws around the outside edge to secure it in place.
Yep.
But the fact of the matter is, using a little more paste doesn't hurt anything. As long as you're not literally like making a sandwich and the mayonnaise goes out the sides.
Yeah. When you see the gray around the outside,
Yeah, consider taking it back off and cleaning
It
things
just
up.
literally, I don't care, man. Just a paper towel.
And then
something.
chat mentions what is likely to be the new standard going forward. I think it's not necessarily cost effective to have it included as a solution, but it is something you can buy for yourself, which is graphite pads, kind of like how modern e-ink devices have a very thin layer of a carbon substrate that actually pushes with electrical impulses, pushes the text out to the screen. There are very thin graphite pads that have high electrical conductivity that can now be placed as the substrate in between those two pieces of metal. I have not built a computer with that yet, but it's a very neat idea. Yeah. And it's a lot lower maintenance than using cooling gel. Because with a paste, you're kind of, they tell you best practice is to take it back off every couple of years, wipe it clean, and reapply. If you do that, you have my respect.
Yeah, it's like once the computer's together, it stays in box.
Sorry, thermal conductivity, not electrical. Yes.
E-ink devices. Did you say that?
I did.
What's e-ink?
So e-ink is like a Amazon Kindle or a Kobo. An e-reader uses an e-ink screen.
No, they don't. No, they don't. There's no ink.
Oh God! Sorry, you're getting bobbed. The same thing happened when I'm like, oh man, I was cooking fries in my air fryer.
No such thing as an air fryer. It's a convection oven with good publicity.
Yep. There you go. Oh man, I need a Band-Aid.
Look, e-ink is a brand name. Yes.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Now, if you want me to go get Rizu, because Rizu works at e-ink, the company. So if you'd like the full rundown.
Well, no, because I mean, like, a brand name I can understand, but it's like when someone says, like, oh, this is my lactose-free milk. I'm like, well, it's not milk then, is it?
Yeah.
Yes. But yes, technically it's electronic paper.
There's no such thing as oat milk. It's oats blended in water. That's not milk.
Sure, but if you try to sell somebody on the idea of oat slurry in their cereal, I don't think you're going to get a lot of buy-in.
Exactly.
That said, I do enjoy a good oat slurry in my coffee.
Oat slurry, the food of the future.
Exactly.
How are we doing, Ashen?
All right, I've got the power supply plugged in. It is not a modular power supply, but it does have two PCIe connections, which is an interesting choice they made. I'm not sure who needs a. Let's see, what is this? This is a 650 watt, 80 plus bronze power supply to have two PCIe connections, but you know
they're 8 pins, yeah.
Yeah.
Vanny, do not put out in the world that any of us get paid.
Absolutely.
Do not put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, there's never been a moment any of us have taken a penny away from this. No. If anything, some of us put money into it and get nothing back.
All of us,
and most of us are happy to do it.
Yep.
So yeah, the 8 pins are literally just the power connection and the voltage between the power supply and the graphics card. And most modern graphics cards need at least 2 of those. So that's why you have 2 PCIe headers on a relatively budget power supply.
So we've got a really interesting question in the YouTube chat from Toto. It's completely separate from PC building. I apologize, but I didn't want this question to get buried.
No, for sure.
Which is the best JRPG speedrun to start with? Now, the obvious answer to that is whichever one you enjoy most, because you're going to be playing it forever.
Yeah.
A lot. Unless you world record on your first attempt, which...
Yeah, unless you're the only one running it, that's not going to happen, yeah. Personally, don't commit. In my opinion, don't commit to one game. If you start speedrunning it and find that it doesn't really gel with the way that you enjoy it, try another one. You may love Chrono Trigger, but you may hate the way that the run goes. It's too glitchy. We just spam Luminaire too much. Obviously, I don't run Chrono Trigger myself, but you know what I mean. Because I run Remake and Rebirth. personally, Remake is a lot more tight in combat, but I'm still running Rebirth. But there was a point where I was like, oh, I'm going to run Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. And there's 3 different characters in that. And somebody's like, oh, start with Aqua. And everybody I've mentioned that to was like, that guy hated you. Whoever told you that set you up for failure. So, like, I bounced off it. I'm going to go back to it, I think, in the near future. But if you find that it's not fun, try something else. Because each run kind of has its own allure, in my opinion.
The catch-all for me is if it's not fun, as Sid just says, if it's not fun, don't do it.
Yeah.
So find something that you enjoy, something that you would, and just to reiterate what PX has said in chat, good music is a good place to start because you'll be playing that game a lot. So you need to be comfortable and enjoy the game and enjoy the music because you'll be hearing it a lot, especially with a long RPG. You'll be hearing lots of it.
Thank goodness SMRPG is a great soundtrack.
SMRPG has the most amazing soundtrack, Pidge.
Salesman pitch, baby.
Go on, Pidge.
I also hear that only cool people run SMRPG. Is that true?
In my experience, yes.
I always thought it was kind of a transitive process in the other direction, which is to say, if you run SMRPG, you are, by process of having done so, a cool person.
Oh, well, then I guess that's why I'm not cool. I guess I got to work on that then.
I'll do some more research. Let me get back to you on that.
Excellent. Thank you.
I got to bring it up to the scientists in the lab. We gotta work this theory out. Make sure
I know Pidge and friends have like decompiled the code of SMRPG to an astonishing and frankly slightly frightening degree, but this is more of a meditation.
Right now.
Nothing frightening about Pidge whatsoever. You take that back.
We can see that Ashen is testing the fans here.
We have booted up.
Nice. We posted.
Conclusions?
The fans are definitely backwards right now. So I will be pulling those off and reinstalling them. We're going to try and get into a BIOS here.
Toto, do not worry about the question being out of context. This entire stream is out of context.
I mean,
this is literally just a bunch of us wanting to hang out on a Sunday, keep Ashen company while he's building a computer, and stop me from going boss-eyed looking at spreadsheets.
Yeah. I mean, if there ever was a place to ask that question, I think the RPG Limit Break channel is probably it. Because this is like the one thing that all of us, we all enjoy RPGs. Maybe we don't all speedrun it, but...
Like, to take a break from what I'm doing, I'm not a speedrunner at all, not even close. But even, like, I've been around the community so long that I know the base of, like, you need to enjoy the game. It's probably got to have good music. Don't worry if it's not a game that's going to get you viewership on Twitch or whatever.
Yeah, that's another one.
Play a game that you love and enjoy. That's the most important thing.
I mean, I don't speedrun RPGs particularly, but mainly because of the length. But I play very weird, bizarre old games, and I enjoy it because that's what I have fun with. You know, and you should definitely use that as a priority. Your gaming should be fun. Speedrunning should be fun. So that's got to be your priority all the way through, in my opinion.
Yeah, because I was talking with. Go ahead.
We are missing one of our sticks of RAM, so that's fun. So I'll be reseating that.
Do you want me to download more for you?
That'll be perfect. Yes, actually, that'd be
I'm
great.
going to go ram one into my modem if you want.
Download more RAM.com. I think
Sys32.
It redirects a different way because the old thing.
But we are seeing our NVMe drive. I'm not sure where in the ASRock BIOS. I would look to see if the GPU is showing up. But the fact that I'm getting video out of it is a good sign.
That's a good indicator that it is indeed working.
That would suggest you might be okay on that one.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and exit setup. I'm going to go ahead and shut us down.
Oh, yeah. Because
where the RAM went.
The modern joke with download more RAM is that it's now a cloud service, so you can subscribe to different tiers of downloading more RAM.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it also makes a crypto reference when you finish it, so I wouldn't recommend anyone going there. Nothing good can last.
Yeah, the fact that it was like that and like Delete System 32 were just straight up memes, and then now like one of them is real and the other one actually doesn't do anything anymore.
Well, I mean, there was an era with God, what was it? It was one of the earlier PC-based Bungie games, I think. Myth the Soul Blighter. When you uninstalled it, it would just delete
I remember.
It would delete the entire directory it was in and the directory above that. Because the way PC games typically deleted it in those days was I think it just deletes the whole directory it's in. Because it's, if you install by default, it installs to
boot, is it?
C/Bungie/myth.
Right. Okay.
So it deletes both of those. But if you installed it directly to C/myth, that directory is gone, and so is C.
Just your entire computer, yeah. Because the way that it's normally structured now is
what kind of administrative privileges did it have to circumvent in order to do that? That's my biggest question.
This was Windows 98. There were no such
admin privileges.
That'd do it.
I remember hearing about that from, I don't know if it was just that game, but there's like at least that game, if not one or two more, because I've heard of that a few different times, that like uninstalling the game would just nuke your computer, and you're like, why? Because one of the things is like now Steam is like, okay, here we go. Everything goes in Steam. It nestles in here. You don't really have to change where it starts. But now, back in the day, you'd have to tell it where to go. So if you weren't being mindful of weird stuff like that, you're like, oh yeah, I just put it in C. So it's like B, C or whatever is your, if you don't split it, which some people don't know to do, like you should have C for just your operating system and then D for like everything else. But if you put that on your C drive, there goes everything. It no run anymore.
I mean, I remember way back to the days where if you deleted your autoexec.bat and config.sys, then you were in bother.
Yeah, because that was the joke too, right? With old Windows, used to run off BIOS. So like there was one of the more important was either sys32 or sys64, depending on what your actual configuration was. But if you deleted that was like the main control for everything. So it would be kind of like modern day of like deleting kernels. So the things you could do to break your computer if somebody convinced you to do it were numerous. And fortunately, most of them don't exist anymore.
Yeah. Now the best way to break your computer is to install Windows 11.
Or to try to customize Windows 11's features in any meaningful way.
Yeah.
I remember when it was like Windows does it's so weird because it's good, then bad. And it's like 95, 98, those are both okay. Then you get to like 2000 XP and you're like, I'd prefer to not use Vista. Thank you very much. Then it like always jumps a couple and it's like, oh, Windows 8. Guess what, guys? We're going to give you a touchscreen experience when touchscreens are not a common thing.
Yeah.
Why? I'm still using a mouse.
Hey, I mean, they made a touchscreen MP3 player a couple of years before that. I still have my Zune HD around here somewhere. I booted it up a year or two ago, and it still worked, but there was no way to get the software that lets you load music onto it working. Yeah, so close and yet so far.
I just put this fan on and then immediately forgot how I had put this fan on, so now I'm happy to take it back out to do it again on the second one.
Question in chat: Does this computer still need a copy of Windows?
Yes, and there is one purchased that I
very good.
Have not downloaded the USB installed media for, so that'll be fun when I get to there.
Interesting you mentioned Windows. I had an interesting one recently. My mum and dad had a laptop, relatively new, a couple of years old, and it had Windows 11 on it. And all of a sudden, the sound stopped working. I thought, right, okay, it's got to be driver, it's got to be hardware. And we did absolutely everything I could think of to get the sound working. The sound stopped working, the webcam stopped working, everything. Eventually, just for some reason, I thought, well, hang on, let's just try Windows 10 instead. Put Windows 10 on top of it, and it worked. Reinstalled it completely fresh, Windows 10, and it just worked. So it must have been a driver issue with Windows 11, but it was just weird, and it's so strange.
Does not surprise me, honestly.
Yeah, that's one of those curse things. Sometimes you'll like, hey, we've got this new update for OBS. You install it, and then it crashes every 2 hours, and you're like, why?
We use OBS for these streams. We also use a lot of vMix for these streams. In fact, I have 2 instances of vMix running right now to do everything that we're doing on stream today. And so about a month ago, when was the schedule hype stream? Sid, a month or so ago?
Anyway. I have the calendar, so give me 5 seconds. And
but for that stream,
I should be able to tell you.
I had recently updated vMix like that week, and suddenly the basic functionality I needed out of vMix just wasn't there anymore. And so I'm scrambling around trying to find a good way to go without it. And in the end, I ended up having to downgrade vMix in order to bring back that functionality. It's the dumbest. Anyway. Updates
the
bad updates.
23rd, of March. That was actually a month ago. Exactly a month ago.
Yeah, there you go.
I ideally that just reminds me that we've got to figure out how to do the stuff post-event. Oh, that'll be a fun one.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have fun because the behind the curtains look is right now in order to do these side quests the way that we've been doing. I just have all of the marathon computers just kind of hanging out in my office here. So I've got Stream PC, and I've got the Encode PC, and I've got the Audio PC doing stuff, and I've got another PC doing stuff. I've got 4 different computers happening here, and they are all going to stay in Denver after the event. So figuring out how to do this all without access to them is going to be fun and exciting.
Yeah.
I actually mean that. That may have sounded sarcastic, but I actually mean that. That's the figuring that kind of stuff out is the stuff that I really enjoy.
Yeah. I'm just glad that you're driven enough to do the tech stuff for these, because it makes it so much easier to just have a person that handles it. And I'm always like, I gotta make sure to not make Ashen do too much. I gotta be careful here.
It's very much appreciated, and I love just taking part in these sort of content. It's a lot of fun. We get to chill out. We get to talk about games. We get to talk about stuff that we're interested in, we're passionate about. We get to promote the Mint Break. We get to promote the marathon and the charity. So it's good. It's a lot of fun, and for me especially, somebody who's obviously remote from the event, it's a good way to contribute.
Yeah. Especially when it's so expensive and hard to get in, for sure.
This year has been, I was so hoping to come to the event this year, but things haven't worked out. But I'm still going to be here. I'm still going to be in the chat. I'll still be helping out and doing the stuff. So, and doing things like this and doing the preview stream, and that is I feel is contributing. So it's always good to contribute. It's always a lot of fun, and I'm really enjoying this. Seeing Ashen fighting with the computer.
Mm.
So this is my first time looking at this case, and the front plate is solid. The top plate is solid. The side panel is solid. This side panel has a little bit of ventilation, kind of just running right along. You can't even see it yet. There it is, just that littlest bit of ventilation right there. And there's a small amount of input along the bottom for the power supply. I'm going to be very interested to see how good the ventilation on this thing isn't.
Yeah.
When there's
does look
no
a little.
openings in it.
I mean, we could bust out a hole saw and put some holes in it. That's my solution. Done.
I have been talking about a nail gun all day, so we could...
We just have to pull the nails out after.
Yeah, Bob's solution to anything: hit it with an hammer.
Look,
it works.
I learned this from my dad before he passed away, and his way of putting it was, if it don't work, drive a tank over it. Still don't work, it's broken.
What?
That sounds like a QA test for a GameCube, actually.
I adore that. That's amazing.
I remember vividly watching like a video where they were like messing with that gen, like PS2, GameCube, Xbox, and like dropping them and doing silly stuff like that to see if they worked. And the GameCube was the only one that survived. All the rest of them broke to something or other.
Wow.
Dropped too high. Got run over.
Now, this does come with 3 case fans, so 2 on the front, 1 on the back, that look as if, yeah, they're definitely pushing the air this way as well, so that matches what we reconfigured our tower cooler to do, so that's good.
Good.
Let's see, are we mini ATX or are we micro ATX? I should know that.
I honestly couldn't tell you the difference.
Yeah. I mean, that looks like MATX.
Yeah.
A micro is usually the kind where you end up having to mount the GPU vertically because there just isn't enough clearance in either direction to do otherwise.
Yep. I think we'll be fine with the way the standoffs.
That's honestly a whole new weird thing. The idea of a PCIe riser, not quite like the risers you might have sat on in high school if you attended activities outside, but the idea of a riser cable that makes it so that you don't have to plug the PCI device, in this case the graphics card, directly into the slot on the motherboard. You attach the riser cable to the spot on the GPU and then plug that into the board. What that does is it gives you the ability to mount the GPU in a different location rather than attaching it directly to the board, because modern GPUs are very, very heavy. And so having something heavy on your motherboard can put forces going in directions that you don't want your motherboard being dragged in. It's part of why putting in all the screws is important, and also why there's also the opportunity to buy things that basically hold up the bottom of the graphics card to give it more support. But it's also become very popular to mount them vertically so that you're like looking at the fans and the RGB coming off of your graphics card.
For the record, I know someone out there is really desperately trying to get hold of me on Discord. I am elbow deep in the menu right now. I will answer your DMs when I can.
Very good.
Yeah, I got
11 of them.
But Bob, be busy.
I mean, I got a couple here too that I'm like, after stream. If you need me, you're gonna have to call me. And even then, I'm putting you in voicemail. Go where you belong.
Oh, while I have this, if any of the following people are listening,
Ooh.
Dosim, Mega Man X309, Yogi the Master, Ziffer 316, or Tiny Tim 78,
It's me.
you need to provide your YouTube name to our moderation team so they can get you set up with YouTube access.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it on the schedule.
Your stream has been impounded. You have 30 minutes to move your stream.
10 seconds
Your
to
stream has
comply.
been crushed into a cube. You have 30 minutes to move your cube.
Why?
What?
Simpsons reference.
Ah.
I've got to try and remember my YouTube ID.
Okay. Are there other fan headers on here? Let me just see that real quick so I know where I'm. So my next steps, I should say things out loud, I'm realizing, is I'm going to install the power supply and I'm going to route cables that will need to run behind the motherboard to the areas behind the motherboard that they will need to go so that I don't have to fight with them later. Alright, I do have case fan 2, 3, and 4 here along the bottom. I'm not seeing where case fan 1 would want to be. But that's fine. 2, 3, and 4 is all the more case fans I have. Seeing my USB headers here. There's USB 3, a couple of USB 2s, whatever that header is. And then audio and front I/O headers are in that space, so...
Also,
run those cables around.
these 11 messages on Discord aren't really important.
Yeah.
That's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke.
I mean, Wouldn't be the first time.
As one of my favorite RPGs, Highlight once said, "It's a joke."
Do you know how many times I've had to go? People have been like, "Do you really think randos are trash?" And I'm like, "It's a bit. It's a bit.
It's a shtick, man. I'm just
It's
doing
a
the thing."
fake."
Yeah.
To go back.
Right, now knowing what Puexel's favorite Final Fantasy is, that's not a bit. That's been real, and we've been trying to solve that mystery for a decade.
Oh, we solved it a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, crud.
Yeah.
There may have been a slight stream interruption at the time.
There was a stream interruption.
Okay, well, fill me in on in the DMs later.
Yeah.
No, we're not allowed. We signed an NDA.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
If you weren't there at the time, you can't.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Apparently, the social media team did love that. That went pretty well for numbers wise. So we've got to see if we can top that this year somehow.
That makes me happy because it did not go very well in actual, making.
I was
but that's just. I was not happy with my timing on things on the backside of that.
Same.
That's fine.
I kind of felt the same way. And you know what? When I was talking with Mizu was like, "No, it did great. It was fantastic." I was like, "Okay, I'm glad."
Glad to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vanny Van in the chat questioning whether that was a work or a shoot. I feel like you should know that by now, Vanny.
And if anyone brings up the famous tweet, you're banned because the person that made it is a racist.
Noted.
Fair enough. But going back to what Tim was saying with our content team, we do have a lot of new content team members, as you may have noticed. We have a few of them with us.
Hi.
Yeah. But these are not all of them. A lot of our new content team members are going to be on site, fortunately, but we do have plenty that are off site, like Tim. So hopefully we'll be able to introduce you guys to those new team members closer to post-event. And you'll be able to get to see a lot more faces than just me, and me. Because I'm sure you guys are getting sick of me. I'm getting sick of me.
I've been sick of you for years, bud.
Hey, 10 more years of Sid. 10 more years. 10 more years.
I will be honest, I feel I've been on quite a lot as well, so probably sick of the sight of me too.
So just to talk to that a little bit, since when I took over as volunteer director, Sid and Ashen can back me up on this. One of the very first things I said is I want to open up what at the time was the interview team, to the public, basically, because it had been a very insular thing until I kind of took over. We didn't manage to do it in the first couple of years just because we had so much else to worry about, just like getting stuff back on track with like after the pandemic and things. But like, as soon as like Ghoul got control last year and Sid started feeling comfortable with where he's at content production, we were like, all right, we're going to do it this year. And I want to say thank you to everyone that applied. It was really fun getting to talk to you all because they used me as a guinea pig for an interview.
Yeah.
So everyone who applied got a call back to interview me. Which wasn't necessarily the easiest thing ever. But yeah, it was really a lot of fun going through that process and seeing who like reached out and found things out, and like Pidge didn't contact me at all for stuff and just randomly brought up like my Power Rangers podcast, and I'm like, where did you find out about that?
Socials.
Yeah, like Tree sent me this huge message, and we started talking about that. It was really interesting to see everyone's different processes and things.
I'll be the first person to tell you I'm the homework doer. Always have been.
Yeah. And for those of you who didn't make it in, don't be discouraged. I'm sure we'll open up applications again sometime in the future. Feel free to reach out to someone to ask what happened if you didn't get in for a reason or something like that. But yeah, just I want to thank everyone that applied because it was a lot of fun. That was a busy week, but
I feel like every person, unless I'm misremembering, had at least one or two positive things that we all identified out of everyone we had a call back with, for sure. There was not one person that was like, well, they've got nothing. I don't know what to do with them. And it was like, well, got this, that, and the other, which is something that other people don't have. Just need to help them round out those edges. But
it's something that I want to work on. Like, sorry, I'm gonna go on a bit of a thing here.
Please do.
One of the things that made me fall in love with Limit Break, even before it was Limit Break, back when it was the previous event, was the cozy nature of it, how intimate the venue is. We have an attendance cap of like 200 this year, right? It's a very small, intimate event. The problem is that doesn't necessarily convey on stream how we would necessarily want it to. So one of the things I'm really loving about the team that we've put together for the content team, you'll notice that we're now called the content team and not the interview crew, because we're not just going to be doing interviews.
Yep.
We're assigning segments to people, and it's going to be people being allowed to bring out their own personalities, do cool stuff. There's going to be I know that I'm going to be interviewing the Final Fantasy 14 runners. And as a sprout in Final Fantasy 14, I have some questions. But
some very good stuff planned.
Yeah, it's gonna be really fun, and I really like the direction that we're gonna be taking things in. And this is the first building block for where we want to go from here. And we're just having a lot of fun with it. So
yeah. If things go to plan, you're gonna have a good time watching and just drinking from the content fire hose in between runs.
Yeah, for sure.
I definitely.
So someone's going to get Stanley Spadowski for sure.
Thank you. I'm glad
I get you. I get you, Tree.
I don't get that.
In previous
Have you never
years,
seen UHF?
No.
UHF.
Mods, can we ban Ashen?
From his own stream? I don't think so.
Watch it at the event.
I mean, you can absolutely ban me on Twitch. I'm streaming this thing, so I'm not going anywhere.
Oh no, I can't chat. Well, guess what? I'm restreaming it so I can do what I want.
It's not like I'm logged in as RPG Limit Break instead of Ashen Prime right now.
Yeah.
Can we ban
let me Google Can you ban a streamer from their own channel?
You do not have permissions to.
Oh.
But yeah, I'm very glad that we were actually able to pull the so to say trigger on allowing people to apply. A lot of our
I love Persona.
I'm glad we managed to get P3 in there as well, because I know there are some soft restrictions we have on it with the event.
Mm-hmm.
So ideally we get P3 or a full run in sometime after the event, but we'll get there when we get there.
Did we say a full run is like a day and a half or something?
Yeah, I'm thinking I would like to add full runs, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to probably try and do it the GDQ way, where we split it in half, because I think that's the only way to really handle RPGs. I'd love to be able to do the whole run in one go, but I don't know. I between different timetables and some of the runners maybe having to be up to the middle of the night, and then also us wanting
from 3 a.m. one day to 7 a.m. the next day.
Yeah.
Man,
just hydration time.
I have to organize that stuff once a year. I'm not doing it in the middle of the year too.
Yeah. But ideally we can keep the content flowing. But the thing I was the most impressed with was outside of the volunteering. In previous years, not to be overly critical, but the team kind of functioned more in just very brass tacks. We do interview. That's it. And all of our team members this year have been very driven and vocal about implementing new things.
And that's not a shot at the previous team. It's just what they were asked to do.
Yeah. But I've heard a lot of new ideas. I've been having to like, okay, can I make this work? How do I make it work? A lot more than I have in probably the past like 8 years versus this year, where I'm like, I think I can make that work. I'll have to ask Ashen.
The answer for most of the fun, funky ideas that we've had has been like, absolutely yes, because that's part of the reason that we have this computer, is because it gives us that one step removed that we can set up the weird, fun, funky things without interrupting, the stream tech who's doing the actual marathon.
To pull back the curtain, that's kind of what caught us flat-footed with the Plexel thing. We're like, oh, we'll have the bit with Plexel, but we also didn't really realize that was also with like a 4-way race randomizer or something at the same time. And we're like, oh, we're incredibly spread thin, but we also need to do this gimmick at the same time. You know what? The gimmick lives, but we need to fix that.
Yeah.
It's nice to see the new PC being useful to facilitate the expansion of different things and different bits and pieces. And as I said, I'm looking forward to seeing what comes up at the event. I'm not going to be there myself, unfortunately, but I'm really, really looking forward. I know there's some fantastic bits in the works, so it should be really, really good.
I mean, the reason that we're able to do things like this too is also because of our viewers constantly supporting us by just continually consuming the content, interacting, watching.
For sure.
I mean, we do go out of our way to do a bit of sponsorship stuff too, and do our best to make sure to keep improving. But if it wasn't for the viewers, that we really wouldn't be able to do things like this.
Yeah.
There'd be no reason to.
Yep, our operational budget is very much affected by viewership and ad views and such on both the Twitch and the YouTube channels. So we appreciate everybody, and that's also part of why we've been trying to do more year round, is to help increase it so that we can do more fun, cool things like this come time for the marathon proper.
The other thing too is I wanted to. My personal goal was I wanted us to be able to do sponsor content that was genuine, but I also wanted to have other content as well to show that it's like, this is genuine content. We're not just going to try and sell you Lunar remaster or whatever because they said they'd give us money to show it to you. Every time, like when we had the Dragon Quest 1, when I got a hold of the runners, they were excited, super excited. And then I mentioned, obviously, we're going to try and reach out to Square again for 2 and 3 if we can make that work. And they're like, oh, yeah, no, call us back. Or I think it was 3, and they're releasing 1 and 2. I have that backwards. But I mentioned it to the same runners for that. And they're like, oh, yeah, well, we'll do that. Just tell us. Yeah. And I do love that the communities are so passionate that they're like, yeah, sure. Yeah. Immediately.
Yeah, it's I've had very similar experiences as someone who recently became a GDQ Huffix showrunner. So I do a lot of this kind of outreach and reaching out to people, totally irrespective of which community, how you choose to get in touch with them. Once you get in touch with a runner and say, hey, here's what we're about, here's what we'd like to have you do, are you interested? I have gotten a no exactly once in 5 shows so far, a total of like 12, 15 runners. Most people are totally into the idea, driven by their excitement and their passion for what they're doing. So any other considerations aside, at the end of the day, you will find a runner who is excited about it. For Lunar, it may be somebody who has funny stories to tell about working designs translations, or if you got me on there, I'd be singing Luna's boat song. Absolutely.
Speaking of, since we're discussing like the podcasts and content team and that kind of thing, for anyone in chat, is there anything you'd like to see us do?
Oh yeah,
that would stand out? Would you like to see like a longer form series on something, or would you like to see a specific game that you'd want us to feature, or?
Yeah, because I definitely do my best to make sure that the door is open. Obviously, I'm not the only gateway. There's plenty of other ways to get the ideas in, but at the end of the day, I'm usually the one that ends up organizing it. And I think I was having a meeting with some other staff members yesterday, and they're like, hey, we should try and do Bravely Default HD. Hey, we should do the Lunar Remaster. And I was like, we probably should do Clara Obscura too, but I'm going to give that a bit of breathing room since it just came out. I don't want to push that out a little bit too soon until everybody gets their a chance to get their hands on it. But I know, like, the podcast idea I've been throwing back and forth for the longest time is like the Great Zelda debate. Is it an RPG or is it not an RPG?
I'm just glad that debate wasn't about the Zelda timeline, because that's...
Oh, yeah.
No one will win that one. Not even Nintendo. Perhaps especially not Nintendo.
You can have the book, you have the timeline, just rip it out and it would be more efficient. It's just...
I've mentioned this before, but as someone who's very interested in the history of games and of series, having some sort of series focusing on a particular franchise or the development of a particular franchise. I mean, there's so much content that could be mined there. Final Fantasy obviously being the obvious one, but there's so many others as well. RPG series, Pokemon, even. Even Super Mario RPGs, not just the original, but obviously where it's gone, Mario, Luigi, etc. So there's so much to be looked at there, in my opinion. I don't know if other people would share my interest in the history and the sort of development of the series and how it's evolved. Those are areas that I personally am very interested in.
Yeah. Oh, I've got lots to say about that.
I imagine you would. And if we do it, we would do it. I'd love to do something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason not to. It's definitely a good idea. It's just a matter of, like, rounding it out, because a lot of it's just been like, okay, gameplay is the easiest. Podcasts are pretty easy because it's more or less, it's just an idea of, like, finding a more somebody to own the idea. Mm-hmm. And I want to say it was, well, let me check this so I'm not giving it to the wrong person. Was it? Who was it? I was talking with one of our content members about doing shows like the ones we've had scheduled so far, and I think it was Cell that actually wanted to start doing indie stuff, which I very much do not have my finger on the pulse of that at all. So I've seen a lot of that. Yeah, I really would like to do that, because a lot of the better games nowadays is indie stuff. I don't know, man.
Golden Circle was all right, but it wasn't mind blowing.
I mean, the thing is,
anyone,
Bueller. No.
No. Okay.
3
Indiana
calls marked
Jones
absence.
The Golden Circle. No.
Oh yeah. Well, now that you give me the full name, I haven't played it myself.
It's Great Circle. That's why I didn't catch on to you there.
Completed. But yeah, it's just that indie games. Indie games are one of those things that you either know and you're in the circle, or you just don't. And the only ones that really break through, people hear about, like, oh, it's Baldur's Gate 3, and recently with Clara Obscura, or other really popular indie games like Hollow Knight. And whenever Silksong exists, they say it's coming out. I don't believe it until I see it.
Oh.
But ideally,
I'm that way with every game at this point.
Yeah, production of games has gone some interesting places over the last decade or so. Ballooning costs, the number of companies actually making the games and funding them at the end of the day going way down.
And then when they make successful games, they get bought and shut down.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, you make good games? All right, make one. Oh, it didn't make enough money. Bye-bye.
Oh, we've got a short form term for that now, Bob. They get embraced.
They get embraced. Yes.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, that's not really a thing so much anymore, because embracers on their own hard times, which is, if you're into Schadenfreude, the story of Embracer is more palatable now than it used to be.
The moral of this story is go play Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
because it's
Very
amazing.
good game.
And welcome back,
Very good
Tango
game.
Gameworks.
yeah, but
Rescued from the jaws of destruction by the PUBG group. What's the name of that company?
Blue something.
Crafton.
Point being, go play Hi-Fi Rush. It's real good.
I've watched a bit of that game. The gameplay looks pretty solid, but like the story and storytelling is pretty funny. To be honest, it's a really.
I really enjoyed
trip.
the voice acting. I really enjoyed the storyline. I thought it was just such a clever thing, and it was so well done and so polished for coming out of the blue. I mean, it was one of these ones that, wow, this game is just suddenly fully formed. It just dropped, and it's really, really solid. Really great game.
I guess that's another thing too, is like, despite being RPG Limit Break, a lot of us love things that aren't RPGs. And unfortunately, we can't showcase everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely do my best to get as far away from the center as possible. Get out there near the triples of the board.
For those who remember, maybe a couple of months ago, 2 or 3 months ago now, that we did the podcast on MMOs, and it was on the Tower and myself, and had a lot of fun doing that. That was very, very interesting.
Yeah. Stuff certainly happened since then.
Yeah, ideally we bring the podcast back. I just figured going into this event, gameplay would be a little bit more straightforward. And it would get people kind of in that mindset of like, oh, that's right, we have the event coming up. Fortunately, I had a lot of people that I could line up pretty easily that were not too busy one way or the other. I think, let's see here. So I think we have one more right before the event. Yeah, so this next weekend we have the Dragon Quest RTA Marathon, but I actually managed to secure some people playing Final Fantasy Strangers of Paradise co-op. That was another thing I wanted to try and leverage, since we have online, that we try and set up co-op a bit more, because it's not something that always happens on site because it requires both people to come in.
Yeah.
And I feel like co-op has its own feel that kind of leads to a different show, rather than just like one person hits buttons and the other one goes, that's why he's hitting buttons.
That's why I kind of like streams like this, because they're like absolute sort of, well, they're absolute chaos. They're just something different, you know? I really like that.
This is the event vibe for sure.
Yeah.
Just everybody kind of chilling in a room, like eating a donut.
All we need now is like a board game.
Yeah,
A puzzle. Yeah.
I board games.
Anybody want some cookies?
I remember back to RPG Limit Break 2019, which was actually the first event I attended in person, and Bob was running a D&D game and had real fire.
Yep.
Which is perhaps
not Do we safe, have the photo of that? I should post the photo of that at some point.
I don't know who has the photo of that.
Ashen had some stuff from like, I had like these braziers, and they were like fire.
Oh, yeah, those little things. I remember it now.
I mean, just know
it wasn't real fire, Selcouth. It was like the simulated fire that was made out of like crepe paper or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right. Well, this will be fun. Just realizing that I don't have enough PCIe slots, or indeed room in this case, to also install our HDMI capture card, or to keep my microphone in here. But it's fine, because our SDI capture card can capture HDMI as long as we convert it first. But we have to have the SDI capture card. There's no getting around from that, mostly because it has 4 different channels that it can input. Although we're using 3 as inputs and 1 as an output. And then also because the inputs it has are our cameras, which are SDI. So
while we're thinking about it, please remember that we are prize submissions are still open for another week.
Good to
If
know.
you want to help the stream out in some way, we may have secured a very interesting grand prize. You may not
Ooh.
have secured that grand prize all at once, depending on
Yeah.
whether the website worked.
And if you can guess it based off
All I
that,
know-
you're doing well.
Yeah, all I know is if I win it, I'm not declining it this time.
I don't think you can
You,
win it.
Yeah, your staff.
Not if I'm donating, I can't. But I never
true.
donate.
All right, your mom donates.
Yeah, I've
That
won like
means I can get my wife to donate.
technically. I've actually technically won like 3 prizes and been like, no, I know.
Almost certainly
No.
that's against the rules of the sweepstakes. Sweepstakes are very, very strict. Otherwise, they're not legal.
My favourite prize has got to be Whale Lord. I'm sorry.
That
You know,
was a good
that's-
Whale Lord.
Bob the Ninja Whale Lord.
Can we get the Whale Lords in chat?
Yeah, Bob the
Yeah.
Ninja Whale Lord was my hero. Absolutely.
That's actually one of those things that hopefully with the PC will actually facilitate. So like when we did the bit with the Whale Lord, I'd actually have a little sound effect to play instead of just be like, on the table with ye, Whale Lord.
Speaking of sweepstakes, did y'all know that in Canada, for a sweepstakes to be legal, everyone who enters has to answer like a skill testing question, which is usually a math question. And one of the fields when you enter is like, what is 10 plus 5?
Mhm.
And that allows the sweepstakes to avoid the fact that like it's illegal to do completely luck-based sweepstakes like that in Canada. So
Yep.
the loophole is that you ask them to do a math question.
Yeah, because then it's skill based.
Wow.
Yep.
Skill-based matchmaking? What?
What is
It
it?
just-
Marvel Rivals?
Dude, it just makes me think. It makes me think of the, whenever I go to like Roll Worlds Collide, see, and then it's
Mhm.
like gives me the catch, and it's like, all right, click all the buttons that have a motorcycle on it, and then
Right.
I'm like, no, this thing is always bad about like that bit of the hand bar that's off, and then it'll give me another picture, and I'm like,
Yep. Press the square that matches the direction the dog is currently facing.
I had
Yeah.
to do one of those the other day where it was like, click on every square that has a traffic light in it.
Yeah.
And there weren't any.
I wish it was that easy all the
Right.
time. I always get the one where it has like a fraction of the traffic light in another one, and I'm supposed to click on it.
Yep.
But I'm like, no, there's no reasonable
Like that's not the traffic light. That is
Yeah.
the pole that is holding the traffic.
Yeah,
light.
yeah.
But enough other people voted that that's part of the traffic light that's what it's expecting now. Yeah. No, Pidge, your anecdote reminds me of back in the day when the U.S. was trying to ban drinking publicly and other forms of things they felt led to inappropriate behavior. One of them was games of chance.
Yeah.
And so when it came to things in bars, one of the things they were trying to put the hammer down on was pinball.
Mhm.
Because with the way that most people played pinball, you kind of couldn't distinguish it from a game of chance, more akin to something like Plinko.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
actually had to have a day in court where the defense attorney called in an extremely skilled pinball player who then said, I can keep a single ball in play for 10 minutes or more. And if I do, that's our argument that this is a game of skill. And so he did.
Wow.
All right, so we are in the case. We are booted. We are into the BIOS. I still haven't downloaded the Windows installer, so I'm probably going to do that next. So we can do that, but you'll just gotta get to sit here and stare at the BIOS while I find a USB drive so that I can do that thing. Oh, of course they're all.
Don't forget to
Terrified
set your
today.
XMP profile if you haven't already.
I have no idea how to do that. Somebody walk me through this.
Excellent. I can't tell the BIOS from this size
Load
and distance.
XMP settings. I'm
Yeah,
feeling
it's going to be
that's
somewhere in
probably-
memory config. It's probably just going to be like XMP1 or another standard setting.
XMP 2.0 profile 1.
Yep.
Sure.
Will do.
Max Saleh, the main task of the PC being built is the content production PC. So this will be running everything you see on the interview set.
Yep.
Or the content set, as we should probably start calling it.
Yeah, probably.
be it from just a simple interview, or if we have videos we want to run, or with the addition of the save points this year, we may be doing some stuff that's a little bit more complicated. For those of you who haven't been paying attention, we have 3 save points that have been added this year. So if the marathon gets off of schedule, we can grab these save points, and we, as members of the content team, have some stuff we can talk about for up to like an hour and a half or so. There might be some other content in there as well. Stay tuned. And we're just trying to. Those save points will probably be a bit more of a larger production. So we actually need a PC that can handle things like running. Like, one of the suggestions, spoiler alert, one of the suggestions is to play like a themed Jackbox and have chat vote on the winners. So we need a PC that can run that separate from any of the other gaming PCs that might need to be being set up at the time, or we need to be able to run all of the audio and everything through this PC so that the audio technicians that are on duty can be setting up for the next run rather than babysitting us. The stream tech can then focus on, exactly. So things like that. Sid, you can probably talk a bit more in depth since that's your department, but
yeah, so pretty much content production, as it's called now, basically is a macrocosmos of the entire event. We have our own audio, now we have our own PC, so we kind of have our own stream PC, and we also have our cameras as well. So, we end up doing stage tech work, which we need to be able to handle, and this frees up the stage tech so that they're not worried about it. The main thing is we were kind of bottlenecking with the stream PC, where the stream PC would have to be on our layout, and they couldn't really mess with other things.
Yeah.
Now, ideally, they just like leave it on our layout, and they can change whatever else they need to, and we're going to be handling most of that.
Yeah.
It just basically allows us to do a lot more creative things where we don't have to loop in every department, and then it's like, okay, we know how it's going to run. And all we have to do is be like, hey, just give us control. We'll take care of it. We'll set up the cameras. The cool thing is just like being able to run sounds through it. Game show boards, running games, things like that are going to be fantastic.
So that's kind of, this is also sort of future proofing for us a little bit as well. This PC can also be used to do stuff when the content side of things isn't being used necessarily. So one of the reasons we have renamed to the content team is one of the things we want to do is maybe get some video footage from when we're out and about from the event, or when we're out at dinner, or I'm considering trying to record my journey to Limit Break this year. Maybe we can use that video, this PC, for a little bit of editing while we're off stream, that kind of thing. So
yeah, I can think of probably at bare minimum a dozen ways to use this. It is going to be a extremely strong tool in our toolbox so that we can produce much more than just interviews.
Yeah, it's another tool in the utility belt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as mentioned in chat, redundancy is certainly one of the things, having a backup in case something goes wrong. But this is also, or really kind of principally, assuming things go to plan, for being able to work in parallel and get multiple things done on different computers with different departments at the same time.
Because one of the things I would really like to do, and I'm hoping this works out, is on orientation day. So for those of you who don't know, the day before the stream goes live, we have what we call orientation day, which is where we set up orientations for all the different on-site volunteer volunteer departments so that our volunteers can come and actually experience what it's like to be at their station, right? And they can ask questions and learn what they need to do. One of the things I would really love to do is get some footage of orientation day, just so that we can show you guys what backstage looks like. Like, you catch a glimpse of it sometimes during the finale, but like, you've never walked the trench.
Yeah.
You've never been in the tech pit.
You haven't stood shoulder to shoulder with another gamer. It comes down to the wire. You haven't been there. You don't know what it's like. Sorry, I'll settle down.
Yeah, and so I would love to get some footage of that and maybe put it out on social media, or if it's a longer video, we can like air it during a save point or during a game transition or something like that.
I mean, another part of the goal of this, like the PC will be part of it, but ideally we'll be able to record individual videos for the departments this year, so that we have previous event footage, but that's like can be viewed pre-event so that everybody can kind of get an idea of the work through, because we've tried.
That would be something something we've been trying to work on for a while.
Yep.
But especially me as volunteer director have been quite thing about trying to get videos that we can put into the volunteer documentation. Unfortunately, we just haven't had the throughput of that yet, just because we haven't had the person power to do it.
Yeah. We did it a few times. We just kind of went about it the wrong way. And I think now that we have a little bit of experience of doing it the wrong way, I think I understand how we should probably do it the right way, where we just
there's also the fact that, and we're opening up a little bit to you guys here, but I quite like the transparency of this is there's been every year we would have to re-record that video at a certain point because something changes.
Yep.
Like this year, there was a major tracker upgrade, and certain departments are getting like Sid's content team department, like social media volunteers. Those of you who have been selected for social media, you will notice that in your opening post that I made in your channel in the Discord, there's no link to the documentation, because your lead is having to rewrite their documentation from the ground up.
I wonder what would have happened to change the social media landscape since last year.
Yeah.
There was also some like side discussions about how to go about procuring actual clips and stuff, so that maybe we can show those in the content area as well. So it was another discussion that the moderation team, myself, and social media had to have a talk about. So there's a lot of moving parts that are at all times just completely grinding.
To say nothing of it being another excellent use for this content PC.
Yeah, for sure. And like Sid's to pull back the curtain a bit, another little bit, we don't have interview tech volunteers this year because we moved content producer to a more permanent team, much like we did with the content team.
And some of us are foolish enough to be doing both of those things.
Yeah.
And Sid messaged me and was like, man, I'm not going to have my volunteer documentation ready for the release of the schedule. I'm like, you don't have to. You're not orientating anyone. He's like, good, so I'm going to have to rewrite this from the ground up on site.
Yeah, because we're adding in the PC, we're adding in the camera. I need to figure out how to word that. Fortunately, I do obviously have some newer members like ateatree, but we have a lot of returning members as well, fortunately. But I'm like, I'm going to have to rewrite this, and I'm going to like sit down with everybody and give them a more long through line. Because like I said, it's a macrocosm of everything. So you there's really like you have to know everything to a certain extent, and I think camera literacy is one of the hardest things to teach when we have like 1 10-minute interview every couple of days.
Yeah. The documentation will be great after this event once it's been battle tested.
We can always run some mock interviews in downtime. You know that, right?
Yeah, if we have time, yeah. I honestly, my goals at the start are to make sure my area is done, my documentation is done, everybody's oriented, and that the training videos for all the departments that can and are willing to take advantage of it are taken care of. No, edited and all that shit. I want them recorded though. Those are like the 4 things I'm worried about. Yeah. And then anybody that needs anything from me after that's we're gravy. So fortunately, like Hoishin asked me last year, he's like, "What things do you still want?" Because a lot of Hoishin's programming was done on site, and then I was like, "Do I need more stuff?" So I had to actually sit down and think, but. Luckily, we got some upgrades so that we have the like lower thirds for people's names, prize displays, and some other things that I didn't know I needed till I had it.
Or more accurately, till you didn't have it.
Yeah. There was a lot of years where we were going through prize blocks, and it was literally just me like taking a Google Doc or something and writing it in there, and then being like, "All right, let me make sure I make this large enough so that it's legible." But fortunately, everything is coming together.
Including this download of Windows 11, which is currently at 80% progress.
I was just about to ask how you were getting on.
Yeah.
I figured when it came up that Windows still had to be downloaded that we'd probably be 20, 30 minutes on that part alone.
Theoretically, we wouldn't be. I have got really good internet here, but also I'm streaming like 7 different things, both directions. So
yeah,
just a little bit choked.
So I
Are you using something like Balena, or I forget what the other USB writer is, or are you using Windows 11 or Windows' built-in USB writer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Just went to. I got the license on Newegg while I was getting the case or the GPU or something else. I don't remember.
Makes sense.
So just follow their instructions, which is go to the Windows website and follow their instructions, which is fair.
Well, enjoy figuring out what to do with the the Microsoft account sign-in screen when we get there.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not connecting the new computer to the internet, so that should help.
I haven't done it since, but I recall a more recent, and it's not going to be the one that's attached to this download probably. Actually, no, if you're getting it from Microsoft, it might be.
It might be.
I think at some point during more recent versions of Windows 11, maybe 24H2, the most recent major update, they made it so that even if you are offline, even if you enter some of the older versions workarounds to say like, no, I don't want to sign up for a Microsoft account at this time, it railroads you back into that part of the process.
Yeah, we'll see. If
please authenticate your copy of Windows. No, I don't think they will.
That's not the problem. It's like that. Yeah. I have no qualms with one way or the other. Making sure your software or your operating system is legitimate, so you can be expected to provide support for it. That's reasonable.
Yeah.
Expecting you to connect it up to a telemetry account that they can keep track of you permanently afterwards. That's where I have the problem.
Yeah, you get to a point where you like realize you're a chipped animal. And you're like, wait a minute. What? I'm willingly being chipped at this point. What am I doing?
To be fair, as soon as the device is connected to the internet and you're doing anything on the internet, you're already captured.
Yep.
I literally you got to accept it. I'm just like, yeah, this is just reality. I don't like it, but it is that way.
Yeah.
Such a blasé kind of guy. I exist, therefore I am.
We have finished downloading. It verified the download. It is now writing the information to my USB stick here, where it's 23% of that, but it's moving pretty quickly.
Windows 11, given its due, actually tends to be fairly rapid. The few times I've done it, it's not been too bad.
I wonder if that's because it has the phone home and download a bunch of stuff in the background.
I appreciate the through line in chat about previous glitches with the tracker involving things switching to different languages. And now we've got something bubbling up about the idea of being able to use fictional languages from RPGs as donation tracker languages.
So the thing is the tracker would just randomly change languages.
Right.
And when we were, I think we were troubleshooting it last year, and then the thing came up that I can't remember who was, like, if it was Hoishin or one of our other people that was programming it, and they're like, oh, well, I kind of want to keep it because it's a funny glitch. I'm just like,
and on one hand, yes. On the other hand,
you could hear me from my house across the country going, "Dear God, no!"
Yeah, I remember talking with High Spirits, and he's like, "Yeah, I just learned where all the important buttons were." He's memorized it like it's a speed run.
Yeah, I mean, good user interface and user experience design, they do tell you should be able to navigate your way around something without being able to read what's on it. So there
honestly,
you go. That's that in practice.
High Spirits is a different breed. He works so hard. So hard. I can't speak his praise high enough with the amount of stuff that he does. I've said it before on site. I don't know if I've ever said it on one of the streams, but I think one of the most like cornerstone reasons that we're still around is thanks to High Spirits doing the Quest for Glories in our interim when we weren't able to. You'd be surprised how much of like just that simple thing, at least simple from the outside, not really so much when you're actually making it work. Kept us driven to keep moving forward instead of just losing momentum and not continuing. So between him and our two current owners, Quexel and HSG, it's been fantastic to have such driven management team members to keep pushing forward. Thankfully, we're like through the woods at this point. Now we're at the point where we're able to grow because of those.
Starting to grow again, yeah. It's also one of the reasons we wanted to move out of Utah as well.
Yeah.
I don't think there was really any of us that were really super duper happy with having to stay there last year. We just couldn't. There were several reasons we couldn't, and most of us did want to just say no. But we wanted the event to keep running too, and that was the only way to.
Trying to find the edit donation button while the tracker was in Hebrew was certainly a time.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, there's a reason. Like I limit my interaction with technology because I'd probably find a way to delete the donation instead.
I've held a dreidel. I recognize several of these symbols. I have no idea what they mean, but
I can like. Through like the line of autism, I've kind of deciphered like, okay, I can tell generally what language it is when I see the script. That's it.
Yes.
Like, oh, that's Korean. I think that's Taiwanese. That looks Chinese, and that looks Japanese. And you put those in front of some people, and they're like, they look like squiggly lines to me. I don't know what you're talking about. But like, tell me to read it. It's words to somebody, not to me.
I have been trying so hard to find the picture of the D&D setup. I used to have it somewhere, but I think that was like 3 computers ago.
Honestly, the D&D was so fun. I never did it myself, but it was always a blast coming into the puzzle board game room, food room, whatever, and watching just like an entire table of like 10, 15, 20 people having just a blast. It's so fun. You are missing something if you're not able to make it on site. It is definitely worth it. Yeah.
It's on a very, very good show. Bob is a fantastic GM. As somebody who's done a lot of sort of in life RPG over the years, Bob is superb. And is very, very entertaining.
I have some ideas for this year.
Oh.
So the way I usually run things on site is I try to do a game every day. and the games are drop in, drop out, so you don't have to be there for all of them.
Yeah.
And they contribute to a larger storyline. And then Go ahead.
A storyline that ends with the party accidentally releasing the apocalypse. Mm-hmm.
That was just the most recent one.
That's about right.
And all of the different stories that all of the different games I've run are all being told in the same world. Mm-hmm. Even the stories that I DM'd as prizes when I donated my time as a DM as a prize for a while. So they've all been going into this one world. So I would. So this year, I think I'm rather than doing a game every day, I think I might do just like 2 games that are a little bit longer on certain days. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, when we were like discussing every year, like sometimes prizes like that come up, and you were like, "Oh yeah, I'll do D&D," and I'm like, "Yeah, that is a very valid commodity." Seeing how it's played out in the back room, I'm like, that is a good prize, honestly.
And every year says like, "Have you considered running D&D on the channel?" I'm like, maybe.
Yeah, plays are super popular, but a lot of effort.
Yeah,
I like, just to continue this story for a little while. The new version of D&D has come out, and I have yet to even look into it. I'll be honest with you.
Well, let's be fair. Is D&D the best TTRPG that you could do? It's the most popular right now, but does that mean
it's the one I know best? Mm-hmm. So if I'm looking to now. The other thing you need to bear in mind is because of the situation I'm running at when I'm running at Limit Break, I'm often running for like 7, 8, 9, 10 people.
Yeah, they're huge.
So I can't get bogged down in like books and looking up rules and we lost Pidge. Bye, Pidge.
Bye.
So I can't really get bogged down in the rules, right?
Yeah.
So it has to be a system I either A, know well, or B, a system where I just make it up. Which is
the ability to fudge it is built into the system.
Which is often what I do anyway.
Of course. Any good GM should.
I very specifically sort of, every time I sit down at a table, I go, I specifically say, and if you encounter a rule that isn't being ruled the way it's written in the book, congratulations, you found a house rule. And I might rule it differently next time because my job is to keep the game running. So, yeah.
If the players at the table are having a good time, the DM is doing their job.
100%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's the same approach I take whenever I'm like setting up a random encounter with a show like that. I'm like, the gameplay, the important part is that you're having fun with it. It can be a speed run. It can be a glitch exhibition. You can show me how broken the game is. You can show me how easy it is. Just whatever you think would be interesting. Because ideally, you'll see the speed run pretty much everywhere. But one of the type of things that you won't see all the time is how do you soft lock it? What kind of weird out of bounds can you get yourself into that actually does nothing meaningful but is funny?
Yeah.
And luckily, the runners, for the most part, I'm like, you tell me. All I need to know is that you're down to do it, and then you figure out what you would like to showcase. If you need some direction, I'll give it. But ideally, at the end of the day, I don't know as much as you do with the game. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, and I think that's a lot of. It's stuff that can get lost when marathons and things come into play. Like I know that especially when like schedule release comes around for like a GDQ or a Limit Break or an ESA or a UKSG or a BSG or whatever, right? People look at it and they're like, "Oh, my game didn't make it," and I'm like, that doesn't devalue your game. Your game is still valid, right?
Yeah.
Can I chip in on that?
Yeah, for sure.
As maybe people know, Bob's just mentioned, lots of different marathons out there. I'm actually a staff member for UKSG, which is United Kingdom Speedrunner Gathering.
Definitely didn't know that when I mentioned it.
Yeah, and I am. I'm also one of the people that looks at the submissions. And every event, we get so many amazing submissions. Like, honestly, every time we get fantastic stuff, and you just do not have enough time. It's very, very rarely do we turn around and say, no, we're not taking that because of reasons. We just go, right, which ones do we really want? And then which ones can we fit in? And it's ties in actually to what was being said, sorry. I'm going to go a bit of a rant here, earlier on about going backstage at the events. People who've never been to an event don't realize how much goes on, how much is there behind the scenes. I attended GDQ last year for the first time in person, and I was gobsmacked at the size and scale of their setup. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've obviously been to obviously Limit Break, and I've been to other events. I've been to ESA, I've been to UKSGs, obviously. But the size and scale of that blew me away. Yeah. But at the end of the day, all these events are the same. It's just different scale. But there's so much done behind the scenes and so much effort that goes into it. Every step. I mean, also, again, maybe I shouldn't say this, but Bob puts in so much work. The amount of work, the role that Bob has, the job that he does, organizing all these volunteers. How many did you have, Bob? Over 100? 130 odd?
So this year, we have 135 volunteers across 12 different departments.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. The amount of effort that's needed. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, we don't get paid. Nobody gets paid. We do this because we love it and because we want to do it.
And Tim, that alone would be enough. But Bob is not just stopped there.
Yeah, exactly. But Bob puts so much time and effort into everything he does for the event, and it's appreciated personally.
Big shout out to both Ashen and to my boy Ghost Kumo, who have really stepped up this year to help me out with a lot of that stuff, taking a lot of stuff off of my hands when it comes to like communicating with departments and things like that. That's been super, super helpful. But yeah, the reaction of people whenever I would, especially like speaking of callbacks, when we would go back when we were doing the interviews for the content team, and someone would be like, "Oh, so what is your role at Limit Break?" And I was like, "Well, last year I was responsible for 130 odd volunteers across 15 different departments." Without fail, every one of them went, huh? Every single person. Because people don't clock how. And it's one of the things I try to bring up whenever we talk about the schedule. Because not only am I dealing with this year, 135 people across 12 departments, I'm dealing with 135 people across 12 departments, all of whom have schedule restrictions. This isn't like a job. They're not available 24 hours a day. They're not applying for night shifts. They're not applying for 8-hour shifts, right? Half of them are on site for only a couple of days. Some of them aren't even on site at all. Some of them only want to sign up for certain departments. So there is a lot of juggling that goes into the schedule alone. And then coming out, like, there's also getting all the volunteer documentation. Yeah, Garrett Nelson from YouTube says it in chat, says it's hard to understand how many people aren't in front of the cameras. Yeah, like, and all of these people are volunteers. Even our staff members, our event staff members, we're all volunteers at the end of the day.
Yeah. And even if you've ever thought of doing this kind of thing for yourself, I've spoken to a number of people in my 5 or 6 years now being involved with charity marathons who thought, oh, I really want to do this. I'd love to. Well, what does it take to get started? And as soon as you start talking about doing it with a proper roster of volunteers and trying to stratify it, it's like, okay, you recognize that hosting exists, that chat moderation exists, and all these, but what you're not seeing here is that none of these departments is an island. They can't do their work by themselves. They need somebody like Bob who is doing logistics and coordination and helping make sure the schedules fit.
When I started doing volunteering in general, it was AGDQ 2014. Small spoiler, for those of you who haven't looked at the volunteer schedule yet, it's one of the reasons I'm on the finale this year, because the finale of RPG Limit Break 2014 was Chrono Trigger, and it was the first time we broke the million. And there were two options for host that day, me and another guy. And the other guy didn't know how to work the donation processing. So I did that, and the other guy got to host that moment. So this year, I want to host for Chrono Trigger because I love me some Chrono Trigger. But anyway, there was no structure there, right? So I was asked by Michael Yama to join GDQ staff for the next AGDQ, basically. And like, the first thing I did was I created the lead donation station spot. So any of you have run donations at a GDQ, I was like, right, we need auditions for hosts. We need a coordinator for our donation system, who everything will go through donations wise. We need a way for our donation processors to contact other departments and our other departments to contact our donation processors. That I put all of that into action at GDQ. So then when we came back in 2022, for those of you who had volunteered previously to 2022 in like 2019 and before, you notice that when we came back in 2022, we had a lot more volunteer departments. But it was because what was happening in 2019 and before is you had a few people that were a few amount of people that were on duty having to do a lot of things, and that was burning a lot of people out, right? So when we came back, one of the things we wanted to do was avoid that happening, which is why we now have 12 different departments of volunteers, and everyone is on shift for a maximum of 4 hours at a time, and everyone has one job to do while they are on shift, and there is a way for all of those departments to communicate. Like, it's one of the things we wanted to do to like alleviate some of the pressure on our volunteers. It made it more complicated to organize the whole thing, but at the end of the day, that's a pressure I'm willing to take on if it improves the experience of the volunteers on the back end, right? Because over the last 24 hours alone, I've spent like 13 hours of work just in the last day. But it's worth it because I'll get to sit there in Denver and I'll get to see everyone doing their jobs and being absolutely amazing. And I'll be able to go, this is amazing.
I was just going to ask how much time you put into organising and doing the scheduling. Just to give you a really small example, I just had to put together a schedule for our event for UKSG, and I literally have 4 days and not even overnights, and I have maybe 12 volunteers, and it took me like 2 hours to fix a schedule. Okay,
so
imagining you got 133 and a 7-day 24/7 event is just amazing.
So the way it works is we open the volunteer submission process. That was open for 3 weeks. During that 3 weeks, I'm constantly monitoring the number of volunteers to know which departments need to make their schedule in which order. Because the departments with the least volunteers need to go first, so that they have the right amount of volume of numbers. Then what I do is a few days before the close of the volunteer schedule is I will come up with a rough schedule, and I'll be like, this department, this department, this department, this department, this department, this department, this department. And then in order, I will send each department a rough version of their schedule, like a rough working sheet, so that each department head. So if I'm doing it for audio, I'll send it to Natara. If I'm doing it for stage tech, I'll send it to Toast. And then I will also send them a copy of the schedule that has already been built before them. Usually hosting goes first and then stage tech goes, because they are the only two roles that are tied to game rather than a 4-hour block of time. And then it will depend on who is next available. So let's say what we did this year is I then sent it off to Natara in audio. Natara will use our volunteer tools to put together a rough schedule of the audio that'll get transferred over. I'll then send it off to, say, Riz in Stream Tech, blah, blah, blah. And we'll go down the line until every department head has made a rough schedule for their department. I will then pass the entire schedule, and I will find any conflicts or as many as I can find, because if you've looked at that schedule, you will go spreadsheet blind after a while. Find as many schedules conflicts as I can. I will look for shifts that are too close together. We had a bit of a problem this year because our volunteers for audio tech and our producers, if you had a Venn diagram, it was practically a circle.
Sounds about right.
So it was, we had to finesse that a little bit.
We did get more of each this year, which was helpful, but there's still much overlap.
We did. So then I will put out a list of all the stuff that needs to be fixed, and I will. Hey, Sal, how you doing?
Hey.
So then I'll put that out. We'll go through that, and we'll correct anything. And that whole process from the close of the volunteer application form to schedule release is usually 3 to 4 weeks. And I am doing at least 2 to 3 hours a day during that, communicating with people, talking, making sure things are chugging along, that kind of thing. Yeah. And in that time, I'm also, in previous years, I was liaising with departments to make sure things like documentation was going well. Thankfully, again, Ashen and GK took a lot of that off my plate this year, because we finally started to get some structure into that, which worked really, really well, and freed me up a lot more. Oh, we lost Selcouth.
Yeah, I'm over in DMs figuring out some technical issues.
Oh, okay. I
should be joining us again.
I just thought they hated me. There we go.
Even if so, they're Canadian. She would not.
But yeah, it's just it's actually quite. And I'm not trying to complain about this, because at the end of the day, I know I've been binging Ted Lasso a lot, but at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about the team, right? It's about the And I've been looking at it this way. I mean, I've been kind of helping out doing volunteer stuff with Limit Break since pretty much when I showed up. In the first year in the 20. This is that 9 Limit Breaks ago.
I was gonna say this is the 10-year anniversary, so
right, but I couldn't go to the first one because it was at Essentia's house.
Yeah, it was kind of that was a bit restrictive.
But yeah, it's been something that I've been very cognizant of. Is I don't like making it. I don't like making it about me because it's not about me. I'm here to facilitate everyone else being brilliant.
Sure. At the same time, you're telling your story of how this came to be.
I mean, I'm not, but I try.
We need like a divining light though, like at the end of the day. And Bob is very good about handling the volunteers, but what he really hasn't talked about is that he also helps keep the rest of the staff on track. Documentation. Hey, your department, sometimes we just forget about stuff. It's like, hey, have you thought about how your team is going to communicate while you're on site? And I'm like,
yeah. So I sent Sid a message the other day because I was putting all the posts into the volunteer channels. So as if you've looked at the volunteer channels, I put a big post at the beginning of all the volunteer channels. And usually Interview Tech would go in the tech channel. But they're not volunteers anymore, so they don't get to use the volunteer channels. So I said to Tim, hey man, I mentioned this when we came up with this, but I haven't heard anything about it. Have you given any thought to how your content team's going to communicate? At which point she went,
That's a good question.
I should get on that.
Yeah, I was talking about it with HSG, but I think what we're going to end up doing is we're just going to use the staff content team so that both content and producer are on the same page. So we both are, because one of the things that we've always historically has been a struggle is making sure that the information flows freely. And it's not out of like, oh, well, I'm just going to hold on to this and not mention it. Just more so of like, oh, yeah, I should probably tell that department that we're doing that thing.
Yeah, Hanlon's razor. Don't attribute to malice, but can more easily be attributed to just forgetting about it.
Yeah. They're like, hey, we're going to do this great skit. And it's like, maybe the producer should know that we're doing a skit. If Freddie, by the way, we're doing a skit in 5 minutes. Let's figure this out.
So we've all been talking a lot since they've joined the channel, everyone. That's Selcouth down there.
Hey, Sel.
Hello.
How you doing?
I hope audio's working now. Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Yes.
Sel's another new member of the content team. I'm looking forward to some of the stuff they have planned for Limit Break. So.
Yeah. She and a few other new members of the content team are some of the ones that I would classify, like what you described earlier, with new ideas cropping up everywhere, as eager beavers. There's lots of fun ideas.
I am very excited to put this new content PC to work because poor Sid has been pinged, I think, about 6 times from me about the one idea.
That is what my job description is, and I would rather it be like this than be like, all right, well, what am I doing tomorrow? Because it is a welcome, fresh change to have a almost too much thinking. Because normally I'm sitting over here and I'm just like, Grandia? Yeah, Grandia. We're going to do Grandia this week. And now it's like, I run in the circus with indie games. Maybe we should do a show about that. I'm like, perfect. Get to it.
I'm looking forward to actually being able to sink my teeth into my content team stuff now that the schedule's done.
Yep.
I've been a little bit distracted, in case you hadn't noticed.
Just a bit.
With good reason. Yeah.
All right. Brief, quick computer update. We've got Windows 11 installed. We're going through the setup process. Got to a screen that says you must be connected to the internet to continue. So did some quick Google searching and maybe did a command line that will help fix it. But if it doesn't, then I will be asking about alternative installers that don't require that. Because
I might have something for you there. One of the USB writers, I think, at least historically, has had an option in it to say like skip the part where you ask for a Microsoft account. But again, considering how recently they changed the way it works, it may or may not work that way. We'll see when we get there.
I don't have internet. Great, I can press that button now.
Hey.
Who's going to use this device? Perfect. This is going to be RPG-LB-content.
Dash producer.
Nice.
All right, does anybody have their label maker handy to slap that on the outside of the case? Gotta keep proper inventory.
No, the label maker's in the storage unit. I don't have that. Wait, maybe it's not. Maybe it's in the closet. And the closet is downstairs.
Excellent.
That dog has strong feelings about label makers.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry. This is. I live in a neighborhood up in the northeast of the U.S. where everything is 100-plus-year-old construction. So there might as well not be a wall there. It's really just for keeping heat in and out. It does not do anything for sound.
Heat exchanger.
Does it even keep the heat in and out?
Not especially well, no. That's what Mass Save is for. There's a whole public works program that's about hey, well, you probably this house is probably old enough that the windows need to be resealed and door jams and all that mess.
So much fun.
Oh yeah, they're. I definitely the dogs love running around barking. I closed the door, but the Doberman knows how to open it, and she saw fit to open it a moment ago. That's what the what that jangling was.
Ah, okay. I was wondering. My cats technically also know how to open doors, but this room isn't where the sun comes in through most of the day.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't have to worry about it during daylight hours.
Pablo East Kilbride. I am not single. I am married, unfortunately.
What?
Someone in chat.
It was a question in chat.
Well, no.
I figured we should leave it to Bob to answer or not.
I'm asking against the unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Because I met your wife and she's lovely.
Yes,
Your wife
but
is amazing.
the unfortunate part wasn't on my end.
Oh,
Right, it's to the end of the asker. Unfortunately for you.
I have to answer this person that in what might be an unfortunate answer to their question.
Yes, alternatively, sorry to be the bearer of bad news.
Yeah.
Something of that nature.
It was easy to get distracted when doing all this and maintaining that glorious beard, Bob. It's just part of being a dwarf. We had a whole conversation in one of our content team meetings. We're like, we need to make Bob. I think it was Sal that brought it up. It was like, we need to make Bob a VTuber. What would you be?
Yes. Yes.
Would you be a goldfish? I'm like, no, I would be my dwarf.
Yeah.
Wow.
A dwarf is the correct answer, but an anthropomorphic beard would have its own charm.
I do think it was technically Keo's. I'm gonna blame Keo's.
Anthropomorphic beard would just be that one thing from Looney Tunes that runs around chasing.
Yes, the giant, the hair monster.
Yeah. They have a name, but I can't remember what it is. The dwarf bard. I have played several dwarf bards, and they have all been amazing because they are dwarves.
That creature's name is Gossamer.
Gossamer. Yeah. I was thinking. I was thinking of the guy from the Muppets for a minute.
Animal?
No, the big one.
Yeah.
Sweetums.
Sweetums, yeah.
Yeah, but I was like, that's a Muppet. Just an Andros head that's all beard. That would be quite funny. But yeah, no, I am convinced that at least part of my heritage is dwarven at this point.
Yes.
I think I'd agree with that. I definitely believe that.
Evidence would seem to suggest.
It's an absolute pain because they introduced cross-faction guilds in WoW. And everyone else in my guild plays Horde and I play Dwarves. Which makes grouping up really complicated at times. because while they've done interfaction guilds, you have to have a full group of people to be able to do an interfaction group.
I just like the idea of the storytelling is that, yeah, it's technically a horde-aligned alliance. They just found one dwarf that's really chill.
Yeah.
They enjoy hanging out.
It's just hanging out, playing Nintendo. I don't know. Yeah, the whole reason I rolled Alliance in the first place is where the dwarves was at. So
makes sense.
They're a very criminally underrepresented race in most games they're in.
Yes, the Chaos Dwarf. I think that might be more Warhammer.
Yeah, the big top hat and the beard, and the brass bowls that they used to have going around. I painted so many of those. Only being able to do Mythic Plus and non-LFR raids across factions where it becomes difficult. Yeah. Well, you can do anything. You can do any group activity if you have a full group, except for LFR. So if you're doing like time walking, if you have 5 people for time walking, you can do cross faction. But yeah, every patch at the end of the raid, the last weekend before the new patch comes out, our guild does the shenanigan LFR time, where a bunch of mythic geared people will queue up for an LFR and just do stupid stuff, which I can't attend because I'm the only Alliance player. My wife tried to get me to play Elder Scrolls Online. I was like, can I play a Dwemer? They were like, no. And I was like, I'm out. When I started playing Final Fantasy XIV, I first rolled a Lalafell because it was the closest thing I could find to a dwarf.
Lalafells are not dwarfs, though.
No, they are not.
You're nothing
very much not. Lalafell are Ferengi, and people don't play in that way.
How are we doing, Ashen?
Well, we got installed. We booted it into Windows. I'm over on a different computer right now grabbing a whole bunch of installers that I'm going to throw on a USB drive to installer things. But I think, for the most part...
Just about there. Yeah.
Yeah, we're done. I have a lot of things to install. I have a lot of things to uninstall. There's so much bloat in Windows 11. It's not even funny.
All right. Well, Selcouth has arrived here
exactly.
And said like 3 words. What do you want to talk about, Sel?
Yeah.
Oh no, the pressure's on. I just came to say hi and vibe because I finally have a voice. So hello.
Nice.
You want to? How about you give us a little bit of a preview of the indie showcase we were discussing?
Oh, sure.
Since you have a bit more of an idea of what exactly you want to do with it than I do.
So indie games, they are fantastic. They're phenomenal. You should all go play them. There is a particular indie sort of creature collector monster RPG that came out earlier this year in early access. I absolutely love and adore it. It's called Beastie Ball. If volleyball anime had a baby with Pokemon, you get Beastie Ball. it is phenomenal. It's so good. The soundtrack's by Lena Rain, same person who did Celeste soundtrack. Like it's, it is just so good. And I know the top runner of the game in their DMs about it. They're very much interested. We're just trying to find a date. The run's a little short, so I might pair that with another creature collector indie RPG because there's a few of them, and they all have really great speedruns, and they all have really great soundtracks. So we're just gonna vibe for an afternoon and watch some really cool indie creature collector RPGs, and then other ideas. Poor Sid I have like 7 ideas, and I am slowly trickle feeding them to Sid to not overwhelm him.
She has all the ideas. What she needs is places to put them.
Yeah.
That's what we're working on.
All right, Sal. Then I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
If I'm looking for a good indie RPG, what do I pick?
Ooh.
That isn't.
What kind
like
of gameplay do you like, Bob?
I like the original. There are many things I could pick. There's game I haven't been able to play a Final Fantasy since 13 because my hands don't do all the action stuff very well.
Makes sense.
I really like turn-based tactical stuff. Like I absolutely vibe with like XCOM and
Okay.
Mario X Rabbids.
I might have a good option for you then.
So you go first. I've got some on the back.
How do you feel about RNG and permadeath?
I hate.
I figured that's where this is going.
Okay, then top choice is probably not good because it's a roguelike on top of being a tactical RPG.
All right, roguelikes are not me. They are not me.
Okay.
Haven't you heard what he says about randomizers?
It's a bit. It's a bit.
Is it?
I would
then For the King is not for you.
Yeah, no. I say that I vibe with XCOM, but every time I miss a 100% shot, I am tempted to throw my PC out the window.
So XCOM definitely behaves differently than other games in that way, which is to say that XCOM actually sticks to the percentages, which means that a 75% chance to hit does genuinely have a 25% chance to miss. But gosh, I'm trying to think of one. Rather popular the last few years. I'll find it in my Steam library.
I do like
the tag in.
I played through a little indie RPG. It shouldn't shock anyone that I played this called Chroma Squad, which is basically like Power Rangers.
Power Rangers, absolutely. From
no one that I played that through.
But you mean the guy with the Power Rangers podcast played the Power Rangers RPG?
Yeah,
that's
right.
Have you played Super Lesbian Animal RPG?
What?
It's actually quite good.
Title?
I haven't played
that title.
I remember it being brought up as a game that was being run before at an event, and I made a note to pick it up and just didn't for some reason.
I have not played it, but I have heard only good things about it.
So as far as tactic games, the two I have for you off the top of my head, the older one is called Fell Seal Arbiter's Mark, and the newer one is Symphony of War, the Nephilim Saga. They are both Fire Emblem-likes to a greater or lesser degree. Fell Seal actually might be a little more Disgaea in nature, but
I love Disgaea.
But as you may hear, I'm very much on the beaten path, and I'm hearing a lot of stuff I've never heard about, and I'm excited.
Yeah, can you DM me those, ateatree?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would love to have another like RPG to sink my teeth into. I'm probably gonna get absolutely mullered for this, but I didn't vibe with the Octopath games at all. I didn't vibe with them at all. I love the party based. Like Final Fantasy X is probably my favorite Final Fantasy. That's an unpopular opinion as well. But
I like 10.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be most people's favorite, you know?
No.
But I really like the party JRPG style thing. I like ARPGs. It's just, I don't know.
It's interesting you mentioned about Octopath. Octopath for me was very, very. It was different. It was very, very good in its own way. But I can absolutely see why perhaps you're not mega fond of it. I never finished it. Well, I never even started it, really. I started the first chapter and I thought, no, this is too big for me, really. That's my major problem with RPGs is I love the genre. It's my favorite genre, but I very rarely play any because of the time investment that they require.
And the pacing of 8 different introductory chapters as your introduction to the game is something that some people will absolutely love because you're getting to know a different part of the world and it's all coming together in a way kind of more like a novel than a traditional game. But the idea of having to wrap your head around 8 different sets of slightly different mechanics and that being the first 15 to 20 hours of the game, I can see that being absolute vinegar to some players.
There was something missing for me. I don't know what it was. I know a lot of people fell in love with it, but it was fine.
How about for a more popular game? How about Sea of Stars, Bob? Do you get the chance to put any time into that?
I have that in my Steam library.
It's on the to-do pile. It
is 100% on the to-do pile.
I haven't played a ton of it, but Sea of Stars is pretty good for the pieces that I have played. I bounce off of stuff super easy, unfortunately.
Yeah, this isn't necessarily a conversation about me specifically. It's just I'm looking for Because like I don't have a whole lot of pulse on the indie game sort of
Same
thing.
I got a couple more for you as well.
Ooh.
I Can Fell is another one that I've heard
Fell,
very good
yeah.
things about. And then In Stars and Time as well.
Mm.
That's a little bit better known on the indie side, but it's also been missed by a lot of people.
Yeah, because ideally, this is part of the idea of running Cell Show, because I'm sure there's plenty of us that are, know about double, triple, single A, but the indie scene kind of can be a mystery to some unless you actually make the attempt to put your finger on the pulse of it.
I need to go play Cat Quest 3 at some point.
Cat Quest! Oh.
That was a surprise one that we got out of nowhere, and they're like, "Hey, you want a sponsored stream?" And we're like, "Okay." That was a really interesting one because I was like, "Who's run Cat Quest?"
Because I played the first two and I really enjoyed it. I just haven't.
I know multiple Cat Quest runners.
Well, I'm not looking to run it. I'm looking to just play. Because if I started speedrunning an RPG, it would not go well.
The only RPG I speedrun, well, that's actually true. I speedrun 2 RPGs. One is For the King, which the RNG is so brutal that makes speedrunning that an experience. And then Stardew Valley.
Yeah, because it was like when we got the offer, I really knew nothing about Cat Quest, and I'm like, is there somebody? And I'm like, ooh, Yagamoth. Yeah, that guy. That's an easy one.
Yeah.
Stardew Valley's an RPG?
Yes, it is, and I will fight you over this.
That was not me saying it wasn't. That was merely me asking the question.
Oh, it is. It's an RPG.
As someone who is in a group with 3 other members of RPG Limit Break staff playing Stardew Valley every other Wednesday.
That's part of like my goal too, is with the content to not really like define whether something is an RPG or not, and find things that people are interested in. Because I remember at one point I did put kind of a question to the community, and what I realized from the answer was it's less about whether it's an RPG or not. Is it more so something that isn't seen very often?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it like related? So like Stardew Valley people may be interested in, but like if you were going to do something as simple as like one of the DS Castlevania games, well, we really don't want to see any %. You can find those on GDQ or Hotfix at any time, but you're not going to see All Souls, which can run from anywhere to 2 hours to like 4 if the devil decides to not give you the soul.
Now I need to work out how to make Grim Fandango an RPG.
If you could sell it to me, you probably could get it to happen.
I mean, it's very.
I love point and clicks, and that a lot of them have strong RPG.
Some sort of item randomizer, right?
That's the thing, is like my very first memory of completing any video game is like when I was 10 and I completed the first Monkey Island.
Monkey Island, yes.
Monkey Island is my favorite series of video games. It's not.
I am a point and click RPG speedrunner, even though I only really do 1 or 2. But I absolutely adore the genre. It's a fantastic. For me, it's RPGs without the number crunching and the length.
Yeah. Point and clicks are my favorite games.
But I never discussed them with you before. We've got to talk about those. No, I love.
To answer your question, Team Murdoch, why there is no name tag for Ashen Prime? It's because Ashen is hosting the stream, and the rest of us are connecting through a program called VDO. So we have name tags, and he doesn't.
Because I was too lazy
as the
to give
presenter.
myself one.
There you go.
That's the other reason.
I also had to send Bob one bonus recommendation. I haven't actually played enough of this to be able to vouch for it on gameplay, and I've heard some so things about how its progression works. But the name of the game is WrestleQuest. It's a wrestling-based RPG.
I have very much heard of that.
Okay.
Considering I walk around in both of those circles.
You like wrestling? Really?
Me?
Wrestling and Power Rangers and Final Fantasy.
I based my entire personality at Limit Break last year around Roman Reigns. So I turned up for the finale and went, "Acknowledge me." Yeah, WrestleQuest's weird. But yeah, it's like, because I know like Questing for Glory's been in Limit Break a couple of times. It's been in Questing for Glory, obviously. But like justifying some other point and clicks can be complicated. So I don't know.
The point and clicks, like at the very least, I find them interesting, like to the point where I usually will consume a lot of stuff about like, speedrun, history and stuff. And there's a lot of videos, surprisingly, about like Questing for Glory, how they actually broke the games, the differences between running it at like normal speed, capped speed, and uncapped. And it's like, you're just zooming across the screen. And I'm like, slow down. I'm surprised the game doesn't soft lock when you try to go one screen over too fast.
Between that and Lego games is like that between point and clicks and Lego games, that's kind of my
Sometimes you just gotta have fun, and Lego games usually scratch that itch where it's not really like that serious.
You say that, and then there's the 100% categories for them all.
I mean, in terms of a speed run, that's a different beast.
No, I'm talking about just playing the game.
Oh, okay.
Like, some of the stuff you have to do to 100% those games is having 100% in every game that it is possible to 100% in the Lego platform style genre.
Mm-hmm.
As finishing the most recent one as of about 2-3 days ago, some of the time that takes is very I mean, I put 60-70 hours into Lego City Undercover.
Oh.
And that was an absolute pain.
Yeah, I noticed something kind of similar too, where like games that have like trophy systems or whatever, some of them are like really good. And
it's not even trophy systems.
Yeah,
it's the internal 100%.
100%, yeah.
So then you get games where 100% is fine, like Crash 4, but then the other extra percent like beyond 100 is obscenely painful.
All right,
like you hit 100%, you're like, yep.
To mention, we did, or I had said internally, we were only going to go for 3 hours, and we're about 5 minutes out from that. So we have a functional PC. It is installing things on it. I'm just going to be here clicking install and install and install for a while. I am going to mention one thing that I am noticing. It feels like, so I've got the on the cooler, on our air cooler here. As mentioned at the time, we did a center, and then I did the other fan on the back, and that's really, really close to the actual back case fan. It feels like, I should get this on screen, is what it feels like. It feels like these two are a bit too close and are fighting with each other, so I'm probably going to move this over here. But outside of that, I don't think I'm going to be making any other modifications to this because it's working, and I don't want to break things that are working. So ostensibly the thing we're here for, building the PC, let's be honest, we were here to talk with each other and have a good time, but
success.
Building the PC
and release the volunteer schedule.
We are yeah, that too. We are at a successful point for that, with the exception of the fact that I do have this HDMI capture card that is not fitting in this machine. So wait.
Yeah. As long as you can put a piece of paper out in front of the case and have it be pulled towards the case itself and vice versa on the back, your airflow is probably good.
Yeah. Not in this case because it doesn't have any vents on the front. I just looked at this again and realized that its PCI slots might actually fit into my one remaining. Because what I've got remaining in the available on the motherboard, if there is the clearance around the GPU, which is maybe.
We'll find out when we get there.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, good news. You're not putting the GPU into like extended gaming loads. So if you do put something right below it and that cuts off the airflow, it's not the biggest deal in the world.
Yeah. But we do have, what is the really, really short, like the really, really short connector?
The port? That's still PCIe. It's just PCIe 1X.
Yeah. So we're checking.
Which is specifically meant for sound cards and a few other peripherals.
Oh,
Stuff that doesn't need the most bandwidth.
we might be all right.
Okay.
You know what
Very
I mean?
good. Here's hoping.
I need to put my ESD strap back on before I pull this out of its static bag.
Gonna be all right. Hey, don't worry.
It's also got a surprising bit of airflow in this. So we're going with an Avermedia Live Gamer HD2. But yeah, if you see
Gonna
those,
be all right.
Hi, Raymond.
those feel like they might actually fit,
That looks about right.
which I was not expecting. Now I did know that the person who spec'd the build, who I haven't named outright just in case they didn't want me to, was aware of needing to have extra PCI slots and had chosen, like, had one motherboard in mind and was like, oh wait, no, we need more slots than that, and so chose a different board.
Yeah, that makes
But
sense.
I thought that, like, the size of the slots may have been an oversight, but no, it looks like they actually knew exactly what they were doing, and I shouldn't have doubted them.
Good. Extra points to them.
Since we were giving game recommendations, like your point and clicks, cannot recommend the Deponia games enough.
Yes, they're amazing.
At least
I've
the
even seen
first three.
speedruns of them. Yeah, I've seen speedruns of them too. They're very, very good.
There is space here, and I feel like that's slotted in appropriately. There's not a lot of visual on the where everything is plugging in right now.
Yeah.
But it
That's the problem with small form factor building.
I'm scrolling through my Steam library, and all my brain is going, replay Phoenix Wright.
Phoenix Wright is good though. So
I never got through Phoenix Wright. I could never get into it.
I've never played it.
I tried.
Sorry, what?
But
You heard me.
No, I didn't. That's why I asked you to repeat it.
I never played it.
Oh, okay.
We can fix that.
I adored the original trilogy. This I didn't even have a good reason to buy myself a new 3DS when the new 3DS XL came out, but I did. And basically,
For
just
Xenoblade.
I think it actually was. It was for Xenoblade at the time, which then I started playing and I didn't like it. So,
Yeah.
So my 3DS became my Phoenix Wright machine because they had the trilogy available there, and then I went and bought copies of all the Apollo Justice and the Everything Else game because I adored them all.
So I think the last one of those in the series just came out, the Miles Edgeworth one.
Yeah.
So
they've just re-released just about everything on PC, including I think a collection that had one or two that hadn't fully come out in the US before.
Yeah, it was the Miles Edgeworth games.
There was one Miles Edgeworth game that got translated on DS, and so if they've released the rest of them, then yes,
I
absolutely.
think they've done the rest of them now, yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can find this.
Bob, you said tactics, yes. How do you feel about mecha?
It depends on the mecha.
Okay, interesting.
I mean, I
came across
Megazord.
Megazord. So I came across Super Robot Wars in my library, which is a long-running series, but it's also literally a crossover between all the other mecha out there. So you'll get Gundam and Mazinger and everything. Just kind of like they take characters, kind of like the Dynasty Warriors games. At this point, it's literally just mix and match.
I couldn't care less about getting all the references as long as it's a good game.
Fair,
right? Like, that's what I'm looking for deep down is a fun. Doesn't even have to be a good game. It can just be a fun game.
Speaking of me and my feelings about Dynasty Warriors,
yeah,
doesn't have to be a good game as long as it's fun.
There's something cathartic about hitting a button and killing like 10 people with one swing.
Yes.
What can I say?
It's like eating an entire bag of popcorn.
Yeah, exactly like that.
I'm still hungry. I enjoyed myself the whole time, but I'm not sure what I was doing, and I'm still hungry.
Until you meet Lubu, and then you are not hungry anymore. Lubu is out of the battlefield. Where? All right, I'm going the opposite way.
So are we looking to wrap up, Ashen?
I think we can. Yeah. I say as I've taken a good chunk of the computer apart real quick just to move these fans around, but.
All right. Well, then I will start the wrap up, I believe.
Please do.
So first of all, for those of you who missed the start of the stream, and the volunteer schedule is out, you can find links to it on our socials and, more importantly, on our Discord. If you are registered to be a volunteer, either off or on site, you must join our Discord. There were like 6 or 7 people that weren't signed up. If you know someone who's not on our Discord, volunteered, get them to sign up for our Discord. Otherwise, we're going to have to replace them. We do need to be able to communicate with them. Second of all, prize submissions are still open for another week. You can do that via the website. If you head over to rpglimitbreak.com, there should be links there. And that's that. You not have to necessarily send those in. Some of them can be remote, and we can help you mail them off after they've been pulled.
I'll be honest. As much as we love to have the prizes on site, it's very, very good. As a content team member, I love having the prizes on site. As one of the lead logistics people for RPG Limit Break, I'd prefer you keep them at home so that you can deal with the shipping.
Not that you would be left in the lurch for the shipping. We will help reimburse you for it.
Yes, absolutely.
It's just
we definitely reimburse that.
It's just
my garage can only fit so many prizes.
Yeah,
there was a picture. I think it was a couple of years ago of a mailman trying to pick up all the boxes we were trying to ship and just declining. So we had to take them on our own. That would be the 2 big announcements for Limit Break. The main event begins in just under 3 weeks.
Yep.
2 weeks, 6 days, and 21 hours. The volunteer schedule is out, as I said. If you have any questions about the schedule, DM me, get in the Discord, message your role coordinators. I want to thank Tim for joining us. He's actually over there, I think, on the screen. He's under here. He's down here for me.
Yeah, the layout in the.
I want to thank Ateatree. I want to thank Sid. I want to thank Selcouth. I want to thank Pidge, who was here for a while. I want to thank Ashen for sort of like. And I do want to get this out of the way before he shirks all of the responsibility forever. I want to give a huge shout out to Ashen for basically running all of our streams for the last 2.5 years.
Yes.
From his house. It's an unsung hero of the Limit Break extra credit stuff that we do.
I feel like you sing my praises enough, but I appreciate it nonetheless.
Right, but I don't, like, we mentioned that you do it, but, like, it takes a lot of time out of your day to just sit there while Sid rambles on with some other dude about another game. And you're just sort of sat there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
waking up at 9 a.m., rolling out of bed to listen to me, that's a fate worse than death.
No, I should know. I roomed with him for years. But yeah, thank you so much, everybody. This has been a really nice time to just hang out and chill for 3 hours. Decompress after everything to get ready for the next 3 weeks. And I think I can speak for everybody on screen when I say I would like to leave you, as I always do, the words of the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, by saying, guys, gals, non-binary pals, and all of those beyond that spectrum, please be excellent to each other. Party on, my friends, and we'll see you in 3 weeks.